call this meeting of the Arundel Planning Board to order. It's a regular meeting. Today's June 22nd, 2017 at 7 p.m. We're meeting in the Mildred L. Day School Library. I'll start with a roll call.
Yeah, Marty King.
Jamie Lally.
Roger Moran.
Rich Canong.
Tom McGinn. Chip Bassett.
Tad Redwood Planner. We have on the agenda, we have an approval of the agenda. We have approval of minutes from June 8th, 2017. We have a pending application for Branch Brook Fuel, a conditional use application. Under new applications, we have an application from Pave Tech Corporation Contractor Yard, a conditional use pre-application. And then we have 3 ordinance revisions. We have a workshop for equestrian stables and riding performance standards. We have a workshop for food trucks and trailers. And we are going to be discussing the proposed repeal and replacement of Land Use Ordinance Section 5.9, landscaping and buffering, and then any other business that the planning board has to discuss.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. We'll start off with approval of the minutes of June 8th, 2017.
I misread that, right?
Right. Need a motion? Just wait on the motion.
Yeah.
Motion's been made by Marty.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Yay.
Abstain?
Yep. 1 abstention and 5 in favor. Okay, first item up, Branch Brook Fuel, conditional use application for a proposal to install a bulk oil storage facility consisting of 3 20,000-gallon #2 fuel tanks and 1 10,000-gallon kerosene storage tank in an existing fuel storage depot located at 14 Old Sawmill Lane, tax map 36, lots 15 and 23 in the DB2 district. Branch Brook Fuels is the owner and John Hughes is the applicant's agent. Take it away, gentlemen. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Marty.
before we start, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I tried to look and I didn't find it today. Under the land use ordinance, this is under 9.223.
Okay.
Is there anything actually written in the land use ordinance for this? Because I brought that up to you before. Question.
What were, you're referring to what, which section of the land use ordinance?
9.2.
What about 9.2,
Point 23.
9.2.3?
9.223.
I think what Marty's referring to is 9.3.23.
Okay, I'm sorry.
9.3.
I got my numbers off.
Yep.
Yep.
Page?
No, we don't have any specific standards at this time. If you're referring to the fuel
Yes.
depot?
No, yep, we
You
haven't,
guys haven't?
we haven't developed them yet.
So
There's
it's
a
gonna be
question to
basic
the chair
standard.
then.
Yeah,
As
Marty.
we have been told before, we don't have it in there, we can't do anything about it.
This is an existing use
Existing use, correct.
expansion.
It's
Even though,
judged by the
even
standards.
though in the past, Champaign had expanded their use along the way at one time or another. But at the same time, we were told before, if it wasn't written in there, it's not for consideration.
Well, fuel storage facilities are actually a conditional use, it's cited in the DB2 district. This is a conditional use application. The criteria, if there is no specific criteria for fuel depots, which there isn't, because the planning board hasn't gotten to that yet, then the general standards of the conditional use application process apply. The general standards would be in 9.2.
But in reference to prior to that, which was above it, you were not allowed to do anything, but it had to go to the selectmen under food vendors.
That's
Because
a-
it was not in the ordinance.
That is a completely different issue. Fuel
9.2?
fuel storage is in the ordinance, it is allowed in the zone.
Didn't
We
say
just
it
haven't
wasn't
set the-
allowed in the zone.
We haven't set the standard for it. Food trailers are not allowed under the ordinance, which is why he had to go to the selectmen to get a license, and we have been working on developing the standards within the ordinance to have that available. Case, please.
I'm not trying to hold you gentlemen up, believe me. It's just a point of clarification.
Hi, well, good evening, I'm Scott Collins with St. Germain Collins, and also here tonight is John Hughes from Branchburg Fuels, and I'm Chris Baldwin, an engineer from St. Germain Collins as well. So, just briefly, I'm gonna go over the project. I don't know if it's helpful if I turn this for the planning board's benefit. Is that good, still on camera? Okay. So, we're here to discuss the addition of bulk fuel storage on an existing property, that's the Branchview Fuels office and truck parking facility. Existing on the site is their office building and garage. There's an existing 30,000 gallon propane tank at the back of the property. There's an existing 10,000 gallon above ground storage tank for diesel and gasoline. There's an existing underground storage tank for number 2 oil. There's an existing loading rack for the number 2 oil tank. There's some pavement, some concrete pad, and most of the property is compacted gravel. There's a fire hydrant right here, just north of the office building. So what Branchburg Fuels is proposing is 4 vertical above-ground storage tanks. 3 of them would be 20,000 gallons for number 2 oil, and 1 would be 12,000 gallons for kerosene. They're single-wall tanks, roughly about 10 feet in diameter, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 34 feet in height. They will be situated on individual concrete pads, square pads, that will be within a poured concrete containment dike. The dike measures 38 feet by 37 feet and approximately 4 feet deep, with about a foot of that 4 feet being above grade. The floor of the concrete dike will slope to a sump, roughly 2 feet by 2 feet, where stormwater, snowmelt can collect and then be inspected and disposed, or not disposed, but to be discharged on the property. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The existing loading rack will be used for the additional storage. There'll just be additional piping added to the rack. 2 new pumps will be located inside the containment dike. And a 12-inch wide trench drain will be installed in the existing concrete pad in the low spot of the pad. That will then drain, again, stormwater and snow melt into the containment dike. There will be a valve on the end, but the valve will remain open at all times. Power will be provided to the pumps from the electrical shed that exists there now. It will just be relocated to location. There'll be a new concrete pad, roughly 12 feet by 50 feet. That's a pad where the trucks, the tankers will park when they're offloading product from the truck to the tank, to one of the tanks. So a couple other details that I'd like to talk about. One is that the sump is indicated, so that this containment area will not have a roof on it, so rain and snow will be allowed to collect in it. As well as water that falls on the concrete pad, which we call the loading rack, and any water that gets into the trench drain. That water will then flow to the sump, and then what Branch Brook Fuels would like to do is then inspect the water, which they have to do in accordance with the Spill Prevention Control Plan, which is an EPA required plan, and then pump that water above ground into an existing riprap swell that exists up on this side of the property. I apologize, but we have this slightly off. It's right about here, and that drains down to a pool, a riprap pool. It's roughly about, I don't know, 6 to 8 feet wide. I would say.
The pool part?
No, the
Yes,
Yeah.
about 8 feet.
the pool is obviously a little bit bigger. Talking to John about the best way to do that, he'd like to have a cart that he'd have the pump, hose, and the filter sock that that we talked about in our application, all stored in that cart, and keep it in the heated garage. When it's time to discharge, one of the employees will come out, hook up the pump, plug it in, and then discharge the water to the swell. When we're talking about for volume of water, if it was a 25-year, 24-hour storm event, we're talking roughly around 6,000 to 8,000 gallons of water that would be collected in the containment area, as well as what comes off the pad. So if this tank is 10,000 gallons, it's slightly less than that. The pump will be somewhere 5 to 10 gallons a minute, and so that water will be allowed to be pumped through that filter bag, which I provide you a specification on in the application. The way that bag works is that it's the material that it's a synthetic material that attracts oil but allows water to go through. And I can provide more information about it. When it's set up for that purpose, we've used them at other bulk oil facilities, and they do a great job in polishing the water. And then the bag gets replaced every once or 2 years. Again, I can provide more information if the board should request. Then a couple other things. So we did request a number of waivers. I think there was a total of 7 or 8. Unless the board wants to go through them, I think I've provided an explanation for all the waivers and our rationale for requesting the waivers. So I'll be happy to. What we'll do is, if there's any questions, I could answer those at the end, I guess. Also, as indicated in the application, there is one additional approval that's required for this facility. It's a permit from the State Fire Marshal's Office. That is a permit for the tanks. An application will be submitted to them that will provide essentially this detail plus more detail on the tanks themselves, as well as the containment area. It will show all the vents, the overfill alarms, the gauges, piping sizes, and valves. And certainly when that permit is issued, a copy can be provided to the town. That permit, during that application process, a copy of the application also goes to the main DEP, and they look at it from a siting standpoint. but the permit is actually issued by the State Fire Marshal Office. I also indicated earlier that an SPCC plan, a spill prevention control and countermeasures plan. There is one already existing at the facility because of the 10,000 gallon above ground storage tank that Branch Brookfield has, so that plan will be updated to include the 4 additional tanks. Once those tanks are installed, then Branch Brookfields will do training for the employees of all 5 tanks, as well as they'll do their additional inspections that are required. I should point out too that as part of the SPCC plan, every time that Branch Brookfields discharges water from the sump, they'll have to complete a log. That's part of the EPA requirements, and basically the log will state that the date that the water was discharged, who discharged the water, and the approximate quantity or time, and any observations. The water cannot be discharged if there's a visual sheen or oil in the sump or in the dike. And that's an EPA
Can I
requirement.
ask a question, through the chair?
Yes.
If the water fails the visual inspection, there is a sheen on it, then what happens?
Then Branch Brookfields would need to contact the contractor to remove the water.
So it would be
Dispose
taken out
of
of the tank?
Yeah. That's standard for all these bulk tanks, that's what they have to do. So, you bring up a point. So we, it shows a bit on this drawing here, we proposed to put a valve. What happens here is a requirement from the SBCC rules is when a delivery truck is parked here to be filled, there has to be containment for the delivery truck. And so there is an existing concrete pad. Unfortunately for this project, there's already a depression. So we had it surveyed, and we're gonna have a trench drain put in the depression, and that will flow into the containment dike, and it will always be open. So when it's raining or snowing or melting, it can go in. But if there is a spill, a small spill, which is more common at a loading rack than, say, a compartment totally rupturing, then it would give the opportunity for these guys to go and close the valve as soon as possible. In the case that there might be some water in here, once you get oil going into the water, then you're going to contaminate the water, and you could create a big cost for Branch Brook. So if they can stop the spill from getting into the containment dike and have it just be on the pad in the trench drain, obviously that saves a lot of aggravation. So that's the purpose of the valve here. But it does stay open all the time.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do you have a backflow preventer on that? In case you have, let's say the worst case scenario, you have a spill in the containment area, and you get ahead enough in that facility, is it possible for the oil actually to go back out that valve there and come out the trench drain onto the pad?
So it would be designed so that, we didn't talk about this yet, but the containment volume has to be, there's 2 ways to do it, but there's 110% of the largest tank, which is what I talked about, I think, at the last meeting. So the largest tank is 20,000 gallons, then we need 22,000 gallons of storage for water or oil, if one of the tanks should rupture. We would design the containment dike so that the invert of the pipe coming into the containment is above that required volume, if that makes sense. Now, certainly, I guess, Tad, if 2 tanks should rupture, or 4 of them, then yeah.
Well,
But if they
we
all-
have a real problem.
It's gonna go over the dike wall.
Yeah.
So I guess it's gonna be designed so that it serves the purpose of the 110% rule.
Two of those, the same thing.
Well, there was an invert elevation, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, we haven't provided that detail yet. And then, so then today we received a copy of the staff comments, which I assume that the planning board received. And I'd just like to address some of them if I could, and then I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Tad and I did speak also after lunch, to talk about a couple of these already. I'm just gonna skip over the first one and the second one. Just a correction there, the approval is from the State Fire Marshal Office, not from the main DEP. And we have not had any initial discussion with them. Steve Dixon is the individual at the State Fire Marshal Office. We've probably done close to 100 applications with him over the years, so he's very good to work with. The secondary containment, we have not provided the calculations yet to show the 110%. Well, we certainly can and will do so. That's the, and then Tad makes reference to section 112.8, which is the 40 CFR 112, which is the SBCC rules, and that talks about the containment and having enough, what they call freeboard. So what they're saying is, worst case scenario, it has rained a lot, so you've already got a whole bunch of water in the dike, and then your tank happens to be totally full, which doesn't happen, but let's say it did, and it ruptured its entire contents, you have to have enough volume. Then the discharge, I just want to make a correction there that the visual observation is still required. That filter sock is an additive prevention, just to polish the water, just in case. Yeah, it removes sediment as well, but you know, you can't see obviously oil in water, so there's a possibility there could be some minor amount. Frankly, it's not required in these bulk plants, but it was brought up, I think, at the sidewalk or the last meeting, and John has agreed to do this. I think we're pretty comfortable with the discharging into the swell. Just with the flow rates that we're talking about, it being 5 to 10 gallons a minute, and then going through the filter sock, we feel the swell is adequately sized. It currently has taken a lot of the stormwater already from this side of the property, so we're not really adding much more. Yes, it's focused through a hose, but we have the ability to control that flow, and it does run a long way, and then there is a fairly good sized plunge pool, you know, in the woods. And then there was a question brought up about how much additional water would go into the containment area. So roughly 2,000 to 3,000 gallons of water would go into this trench drain during a 25-year storm event over a 24-hour period. So, you know, the combination of that water plus the water that would fall in the container area is your 7,000 to 8,000 gallons. And we still feel like we got plenty of volume. What's required here on this pad is 3,000 gallons, and we're going to have 22,000 gallons in the dike, the way that this is going to be designed.
Another question to the chair.
Yes.
In the wintertime, how's that trench kept open? How's the valve kept open?
That's a good question. Right. It might freeze open.
It might.
No, I'm not talking about freezing open, I'm talking about it throwing water, freezing solid. How's that dealt with?
Well, it's wide enough so that a hand shovel can get in and shovel out snow. And if it does freeze, they can use ice melt or something to remove it. It's something that these guys and anybody else that has outdoor catch basins or drains have to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's something they're gonna have to stay on and make sure. And there was a question about whether or not this tank is staying or leaving. This tank is gonna remain. There's a couple miscellaneous tanks here under a roof cover. Those are they either have started to disappear or will disappear prior to this project. But this tank here will remain, as well as the underground tank. So the total storage would be the 10,000 gallons plus 20,000 gallons underground plus 72,000 gallons above ground. So, I think I've answered most of Tad's questions, but I'm happy to answer any others that you guys might have.
I have a question. So, it's about the discharging of the water.
Mhm.
Is that done just by sight, just by seeing it needs to be done, or is there periodic emptying of that?
Well, these guys are out there every day, so they're required to discharge the water after a storm event, because otherwise you don't have the volume anymore.
That's my concern.
Right, so they're out there every day, that's part of the operation, that's part of their plan that they have to follow. It's in his best interest to make sure that that water's,
One thing I might add, you have to work in that area
Yeah.
to turn tanks off, open tanks up. If there's a foot of water in there,
Yeah.
you're walking in it.
Okay.
So there's the motivation, I guess, is you're gonna wanna keep good housekeeping and you're not gonna want wet feet or have to put waders on every time you go in to open a tank. So when it gets to the point where it's, more than a puddle, we're gonna pump it.
So in case of, worst case scenario, if there was a major spill, you probably wouldn't have a few thousand gallons in there unless
Doubtful.
it was right in the middle of.
Of a crazy hurricane, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you're required to give a report to the state if, anytime you pump water out of there, correct?
no,
You're not, I'm sorry, I misunderstood
no,
what you
we're
had said.
we're required to keep a log.
You're required to keep
That
that
log is available to the state should they do an inspection or EPA, but they don't have to submit the,
Okay.
And we're inspected, even as we are now, a minimum of once a year. And we also have an independent petroleum contractor, again, by DEP law for the plant that's there now. He was just there 2 weeks ago, has to conduct about a 1 or 2 hour evaluation of everything, make sure our oil overfill protection works, make sure our tank gauging, our overfill alarms, everything works. And he signs off, and we do that every year. Then also, we have to have 2 trained operators that go through an annual or semi-annual, it's annual, test online with the DEP, and you've got to pass it. And keep that on record as well.
Yeah, and it just, you had said a log, and I think, well, if they make you keep a log, they ought to ask you for.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they do come and look for it.
Well, no, I was under the impression that with that log, you would submit it to the state and said, here, we did this action on such and such a date. And I was gonna ask you to notify the codes enforcement officer that you had done the same thing.
Yeah,
So if it's not a requirement, you're not gonna send it up to them, and I don't blame you.
the reason they have you do the log is, so I asked about this. If there's a spill that got to a river or a brook or something like that, and they don't know where it came from, a lot of times, they're gonna first point at the oil guy,
Sure.
right? But if they maintain their logs and say, look, yeah, the last time you discharged was 2 weeks ago and the water was good. And so it's really on them to
Okay.
kind of
Will there be any, scheduled frequency to change out that filter sock?
right now, for the other sites, it's kind of like on a 2-year basis, so it's not, they kind of get worn out after a while, just with the continued use. So when it starts to look kind of like it's not ready to be used anymore, we make a change.
So is that, I mean, it's something that'll be easily inspected as part of,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
what will
what they need
happen
to
is,
do?
they have to do a monthly inspection of the facility, as well as an annual inspection, and that will be included in the inspection, that they'll need to look at that sock and make a determination whether that needs to be changed.
Excuse me, Scott, when you said we, who does that monthly?
Oh, I'm sorry. These guys do.
Oh,
Yeah,
So John does.
yeah. It's not independent, it's a self-inspection.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Marty?
You said other facilities, are most of those other facilities smaller or larger than that we're speaking of here?
They are just like this. This is a very common,
Okay, why I was asking if they were larger, they may have had more flow, like for the sock or anything else. I mean, if this is on a, and I'm not saying it's a small scale, but if it was a smaller scale in comparison to another one, I mean, you know, the sock usage would be deleted, is
I
in
understand what you're saying.
comparison.
Yeah,
And in a drought year, you wouldn't be pumping.
Well, yeah,
Like
yeah.
either like the last 2 summers,
Yeah,
you might not use it 5 times.
oh, yeah, I mean,
But like we've had this spring,
oh, yeah,
you might have pumped it 5 times already this spring. It's kind of a,
or this winter, I mean, how it ran off
Oh, yeah.
so quick.
yeah,
this, when folks build these bulk plants, they do it so, as John's doing it, so he doesn't have to drive to South Portland to, so there's a cost savings and obviously the wear and tear on his trucks. And there's a certain volume, that they kind of do to make it worthwhile. And this is kind of the common, it's 3 to 4 tanks, either vertical or horizontal, and the storage is somewhere between 40 and 80,000 gallons, that's pretty common.
Question for you on the hose that this sock is on the end of. How big is the hose,
The diameter,
the diameter?
we haven't discussed that yet, but it'll be somewhere between, it could be a garden hose, which is probably a little small, but it can handle up to a 4-inch diameter hose.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I get.
But it
I
won't be
was
4
just-
inches.
I was just curious, because a garden hose at 5 gallons a minute, it's gonna put a fair amount of pressure coming
Right,
out the
well,
back end.
yeah, we're probably, it's gonna be a little bigger diameter.
Okay.
yeah, when I start shopping for pumps, I'll kind of decide, and what's handleable, I mean, if you've got
Right.
something big, you're wrestling with it, trying to get it out. My guess is probably 1 inch
Okay.
with some quick couple, so you can go the length, and then you can coil it back up and be able to drain it after,
Yeah.
and be able to handle it without,
Usefulness.
Yep.
an hour's worth of
Yeah.
pre-setup.
Well, that's why I was wondering, a 1 inch would not be bad,
Yeah,
you know, a garden hose, you get a nice.
it pushes pretty good.
Well, also garden hose will take forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I mean.
Yeah, we're trying to balance that with the volume and the velocity to try to keep it trickling in comparison to the ditch.
Sure.
So we're not creating some sort of a concern there, but also you wanna be able to get it done in a reasonable period of time for a couple of reasons. You don't wanna leave it sitting there pumping for 3/4 of the day, because let's face it, it's gonna be a certain percentage of that time, people aren't gonna be standing right over it. So I wanna get the job done, so we're in and out of there, but also kinda, you know, keep all the other stuff in check.
What was the height, again, I heard 30 to 35.
Yeah, I mean, let me speak of, Yeah.
It's still gonna be in the ground a few feet too,
Right.
so the finished height is gonna be just over.
depends on
30.
it depends if it's the 20,000 or the 12, but I have a spec on one of the tanks, I'm not sure if it's here or not, but that's about the height we're talking about.
Yeah, the actual tank, I think is like 10 by 35, but we're gonna be in the ground, how deep?
3 feet?
3 feet,
Roughly.
so you trim that off, what it looks like when it's all up. So you're at 32 even, to be on the tall side.
Let's address the issue of the waivers that they've asked for. I have no problem with most of them, but I do have a question on 2 of them. Actually, I only have a question on 1 of them.
Can we go over one by one?
Yeah. The very first waiver they're asking for, on page 18, is asking, they want to waive the location of existing site features that are located on the property.
Well, in particular, we were focused on the 8-inch caliber trees. We're not doing any,
Do you have 8-inch trees on that property?
well, not where we're, maybe down here, but not.
In the woods.
Off the sides,
Yeah.
not
Nothing
nowhere
that's-
near in the present location of playing or developing.
Right.
So how do you gentlemen feel about that?
No.
After the sidewalk, it's no problem.
do you think, do we need a motion on each one of those? Or can we do that
As
as
we do it as a group.
do it as a group? Okay.
The site's already developed.
Yeah. The next one is the location, layout, and dimensions of all existing and proposed drainage facilities.
So that,
That's on page 19. The second one on there.
Where is the first one? This one. Okay, go.
so this whole area is already impervious. Either it's concrete or compacted gravel, or there's already a roof, existing over a concrete pad. So there really is no, we just feel like we're just replacing impervious surface with impervious surface. We're not changing drainage patterns, we're not really doing anything that requires us to provide drainage calculations. That's the rationale behind that waiver request.
Yeah, I think same as the last waiver, I think that site has already been developed, and I don't think it's gonna be any change, grade, or impact at all.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, Marty?
Even though it has been that, and it has already been sealed, stamped, and everything else before, if a waiver is granted, to at least to turn around and have a copy of that with, that's why we're waivering it, because it's already, you know,
Copy of what?
The original drainage calculations from the original permit, way back,
Yeah, I
When you
think
first
the
put
most
the stuff
recent
in?
one might have been when the propane was done.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, just.
Then that would be
just-
sufficient.
It's sufficient to turn around,
Maybe go back to that.
yeah, I mean, that way you turn around, it just accompanies the reason why we granted the waiver.
No, I get that, that's no problem.
Already on record anyways.
Right.
Mhm. The next one is site distances. Yeah, that's great.
Not changing anything.
Nothing-
Not
nothing
changing
changed.
anything, I mean, they're that far off the main road and.
That is actually a road, it's not a driveway, you're on,
It's a private road.
private
Yeah.
road, okay. So the road comes out to Route 1, not your driveway,
That's correct.
okay, good.
The next three were all part of the landscape plan,
Yes.
considering that nothing is, there's no changes out there based on what we've seen thus far.
Right, and I think,
Just we're adding that
we
extra
told,
screening.
we identified we're adding some trees here.
Yeah, right, the visual.
And then we provided some photographs, on the entrance to the private drive, Route 1, in the application, kind of left side, center, and right side, just to kind of show that there's kind of a screening already, existing. So yeah, if someone's driving by, they'll be able to see the tanks for a tenth of a second as they drive by, but other than that.
If they're heading south, if they're heading north, I hope they're not looking.
Well, they won't, you're
Yeah,
right.
they have to really,
Yeah, yeah.
It's outside of the normal driver cone of vision of passenger equipment. Advancing especially.
Any problems with the landscaping?
No, I know.
Next one down is the stormwater drainage calculation, but we're gonna be getting that. So that'll be, should be reflected in the one that we just did.
on there.
Yeah. Traffic impact should,
Okay,
should not.
before we go, one thing that I think is missing is where that, where you will be discharging into that, so if that could be noted
Yeah, we
on
can
here
do that.
somehow.
Yep.
Okay.
Traffic impact study, groundwater study. I'd like a feasibility study to tell me if this is gonna be a successful project or not.
There it is. So
Well, let's put it this way,
That's for that.
if he already has it, because the simple fact is,
He's successful.
anytime after October, it gets cold. So feasibility to how the fuel will be moving.
Is there next year?
And then the last one was the fiscal impact assessment.
Pretty sure that's gonna be a positive. fiscal impact.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Okay, any problems with any of the waivers that have been requested?
move we grant the allowance of those waivers or waiver requests.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to grant the waiver requests for the, we have 3, 6, 9, 11 items.
Comment, could make an extra condition to that they know where that discharge location would be.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that plays into the waiver request. I think it's a fine comment if they're gonna be adding any detail to the plans or anything, but I don't think it specifically gets into,
That would be
One
part
of
of
the
the
waivers.
water management.
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm all right with that.
We're happy to show on the plan.
Okay.
That would be great if you could show me. this show.
I mean, and to me, even if it's just on a, approximate
Yeah, no.
area.
That's easy.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
one question, you did say it's based, the waiver for stormwater is based on producing the stormwater from the previous applications, right?
Correct. Yeah, from back when they put the propane tank in.
Yeah, I believe that's when it was done.
Alright. So that's the only caveat on that, that they provide the previous stormwater, management.
So if
I
you
mean, that way we have a stamp.
could amend your motion to reflect that.
So amended.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Yeah.
It is unanimous. The next step is a public hearing.
Can we schedule it for our next meeting?
Yes, you can now, because we have we have the shorter notification date from the paper. 7 days instead of 10 days, so now I can make
We
the
can do it
next.
for July 13th.
Wow. Can I make a motion to schedule a public hearing for July 13th?
Second. Motion has been made and seconded for a public hearing on July 13th. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Is this the second one?
It is unanimous.
I did have one question, that I don't know if it impacts anything, but you're gonna be moving that electric shed. Do you know where that will be going to?
Well, this is where it's going to.
Oh, it's
That's the-
been located there.
And it's
Okay.
being moved a matter of a few feet.
It's like 10 feet or
I
something.
think back
Okay.
a little to allow for the width of the dike. It sits pretty much there right now.
Okay. Right.
We chose not to show the existing features right here because it just was gonna get too busy. So this is what it will look like when they're all done.
Okay. And Scott, you'll get me all those tech specs that you talked about. The calculations on your volume.
Yeah, so.
And the sock spec.
Yep. And we'll just resubmit, and then we have just a couple of things we wanna clean up on the plan here, like get this swale in the right location and a couple of little minor things, so. When do we need to get that back to you by?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Okay. How's that?
We're on.
Now, do you have to have your tanks, those tanks made? I mean, they aren't pre-existing already.
Probably not,
That's what
no.
I'm saying, because
It's a common tank,
it's a
but
common tank, but I
gotta
mean,
work.
the way it was explained, that you still have to get the tanks, but of course, the new tanks, I'm speaking of, but they have to be made, it's gonna take a little time to make your tanks before the fall, to get
Oh.
everything done.
Realistically, this is gonna be a springtime project for next year.
Oh, okay, I thought you were,
We're by the slow season that we would take things out of service and be moving things around and essentially be out of business. And June is our slowest month, and that's when we wanna be disrupted. So, once we get through this phase, then there's the quoting of the contractors, ordering of equipment, I kinda hope to have things kinda sitting there ready in the end of March, beginning of April, and then
Okay. I didn't know if any of this was coming, that's why I said,
No.
but how I explained it before, the cold season comes and
I
projects.
wouldn't dare jump into it right now, Marty.
I'm just,
I'm already bald. I don't, we gotta do it during the slow season, so,
I'm just,
yeah.
We will have the public hearing, and assuming that everything goes well,
We ready to go?
you're ready to go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item of business, new application. Paytech Corporation Contract Yard, a conditional use pre-application, a proposal for the establishment of a contract yard 2 operation for an existing paving contractor business located on an interior 5-acre parcel, tax map 37, lot 8A, served by the private way Stilton Lane with access off Senate Road in the R4 district. William Stilton is the owner and applicant.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I am a budding property owner. Need to remove myself as a board member and join this discussion as a butter.
Okay. Have a seat. Okay, at this point, the applicant is in a consent decree with the Board of Selectmen to remediate some issues that were out there. They have given him a time frame in which he has to come and see us, but I think the first order of business that we have to look at is to do a sidewalk. Before we need to look at the application, make sure that the application itself is complete, but then before we do anything, we need to go out and see the property and do a sidewalk.
That's pretty standard for
Pretty standard.
most applications.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
this is a pre-app, this is not
This-
a,
I'm sorry, right, so we don't have to determine it complete.
no.
So we need to schedule a sidewalk.
question.
Yeah, Marty?
Under the pre-app, is the applicant required to provide any drawings or anything else along the way so that we can try to determine,
He should be laying out.
but, you know, on paper, so that, I mean, at least we can see what we're speaking of, you know what I'm saying?
I think if he had that ready for, because I don't believe we have that.
No, I'm trying to give him a thought so that when we do a site walk, everything's kind of giving us the guidelines.
In the past, when we've had sidewalks, we've asked that the area involved be laid out and flagged so that
Yeah.
we could see where it was gonna take place.
Right.
And if we could have something on paper that would show us that when we go out and do the sidewalk.
I do have some aerial pictures that I had, Dave Duchesne come over to take.
Yep.
I mean, you can look at them and we can still do the,
Well,
Why?
we're gonna have to do the site walk, and we're gonna
Yeah.
have to have some formal submission requirement similar to what you just saw
yeah,
by Branch Brook.
yeah, no problem.
You know, and it's gonna have to be laid out indicating where everything is going to be located,
Right,
okay? And if you could have that for us when we do the site walk, that would be great. But at this point, we just need to get out there and take a look at it.
yeah, no problem.
Is there anything else that we need to do?
Mr. Chairman,
Does the applicant care to address the board in any way tonight, propose,
No,
describe
it's
what's
just,
going on, anything?
Yeah,
I've been down there since, 2000 and, well, really 2000, I put my road in there. It was back when Bud LeGros was a code enforcer, when I first bought my piece of land. Bud told me that I could have, there was enough parking there for 5 to 8 cars. This is back in 2000. And you'll never have a problem, but then my neighbors started to stink back then. And we had a meeting, and I got a conditional use
yep.
for a couple of trucks. And things just, I grew a little bit, and I got 4 trucks, and it's not making them happy. Most of the time, there's only 2 on the property. I do have a couple, containers there, but for personal use, because I don't have a basement. I have a crawl space in my home. I do have a trailer that I use for storage, that I keep all my hand tools in, and I keep underneath it, I keep tires and like hot track machines, you know, for filling tracks and driveways and that. And I just use that for storage. And a few other, you know, I got a loader, but I'm in there a quarter of a mile, and I need that to get out of there in the winter.
Mr. Reed?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Bruce Reed, as you all know, I think, and I represent several of others. Can you guys announce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Lynn Howe, 49 Chipay Road. My husband Mark and I.
I'm Dewey Guile of 40 Chipay Road. My wife can't be here, but I'm here.
Jeff Stolt, 29 Chipay Road. My wife can't be here if she would be.
And there might be a couple of others who are part of the group. All of these folks live on McChipkay Road. And I know this is a pre-application meeting, but I want to get in early, and we're going to be here often. This is a very concerning situation. The reason it was before the selectmen is a very good one. This site has a history, which you probably don't want us to get into tonight, but it has a long history. I mean, fuel tanks, like John was just describing on his very well-designed property, we had that happening in a residential neighborhood. We have a marijuana cultivation operation going here. We have two selectmen here who can attest to what they saw and why there's a consent decree. I'm afraid Mr. Stolfen may appear to be a friendly, gosh, I've been here forever, I dealt with Bud LeGros, I dealt with Bud LeGros. But you need to be very careful in analyzing this application because of the history, which is documented, very well documented. You'll hear about it. Violations. I mean, the day after being told by a code officer not to do something, Mr. Gow goes out and finds it happening, the next day. We want you to be very careful in analyzing this application. Specifically, the question you just asked, Mr. Chairman, where's the plan? I mean, this is serious enough, it's already been before the selectmen. Where's the plan? We have an aerial photograph, that's not a plan. Is it survey? Wetlands analysis, there's a stream running here that runs, Mr. Bassett can attest to how it connects. Some of the water that runs off his property runs onto his, and then we go into the Kennebunk River. So, did you all receive the letter that I submitted in anticipation of the last time Mr. Stolfen was about to come before you? I have it. It was sent to you, Tad.
Yeah, I think you guys were doing that last time around.
I've got copies. Yeah, I have plenty of copies. I want you to have the original. That's the original. And this was emailed to Tad. Did you guys see this?
Thought that was in your packet, when it not.
And I know that the Mr. Reed. Yeah. I have plenty. I think the selectmen saw this letter, didn't you? The selectmen see it when you were considering the consent decree?
I don't know, also not sure.
Well, here's a copy. The main point I make in this letter is what I just said, which is, please don't grant waivers on this particular site for no very good reason. We should know what the site looks like, what's going on, and have, here's one for you.
Yeah, thank you.
But the other point I make in the letter is the jurisdictional issue, along the lines of what Marty was talking about earlier, but with a different spin. This isn't listed as a conditional use in your ordinance. Contractor yards are not conditional uses. The selectmen have told them to come before you, but if you look at your list, and this is in my letter, if you look at your list of conditional uses, it doesn't appear. And of course, he could have registered, like a lot of others did, Mark Welch.
There aren't that many.
Well, yeah. Who are the others?
Zook and Mark Welch.
Correct. Could have registered by August of last year, did not. That would have kicked in another process. Did not do that. So he can't pigeonhole himself in there. And now I realize this has gone to the selectmen, and they've said this should be now treated as a conditional use, but it's not listed as conditional use in the ordinance. And I talked to Ted about this. And Ted, I won't speak for you, you did talk to your town. I'm sure you will. But apparently, I didn't know this until this afternoon, but Ted has talked to your town attorney, Leah. I would just ask, this is a serious enough matter, I would ask, and Ted has, we touched on this, to get a written opinion from her as to whether you have jurisdiction before you go down a path of pre-application, site walk, multiple hearings. If it's determined that you don't, and I would like to have a chance to have a dialogue with Leah about whether you have the right to even hear this. You just amended the ordinance to list some additional conditional uses, that just happened at town meeting. This wasn't one of them. So,
Just to your point.
yeah,
In section 9 under conditional uses, contractor yard 2 is defined in there, and it is allowed in that district. That's just, that's what section 9 says.
I was
Like,
looking,
In
yeah.
9314D, we have contractor yards. In 9314.
I'm in the
We
R4.
deal with contractor yards. And that's, so we do have it listed in the conditional uses. I do understand your point that it is not listed in the district description. And that appears to have been an oversight when it got typed up. And that's what we talked with Leah, and I understand, and I could probably agree with you. We should get Leah to put that in writing and say to us, this is my opinion, because we have
that's
to
all I'm
rely on
asking
her
for.
opinion.
That's all I'm asking for. So, I have been before this board in the past, but I'm trying to figure out, your protocol from here is to, this is pre-application, you schedule a site walk at which the public will be invited.
Absolutely.
Essentially,
After that, we would be looking at it to determine whether or not the application itself is complete. Part of the site walk process will be, can it happen now?
and at what point will you make a call as to whether a survey is required, topographical, I mean, are you informed on those issues by having a site walk probably, I'm guessing?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I believe part of the application itself lists out those criteria.
Well,
Similar to just the way that Branch Brook came through and said,
Well,
we want
that's a
waivers on all of these items.
we can't, I mean, that was a very professional presentation, and so far, I'm not seeing that coming in this application, and I'm just saying, this is a residential neighborhood, the kids, I mean, they put on, some of the testimony you'll hear at the public hearing before the selectmen, pretty impassioned, real stuff. These people have been raising children there, walking their dogs, and a lot of bad stuff has happened at the site, I'm not just saying, it's a matter of public record. So, we'd ask you to take careful consideration of this, we will be at the site walk, and I appreciate your offer to have a written opinion from Leah on this issue that we can consider.
We need to,
Through the chair.
yeah, Marty.
Just for a point of clarification, back when the notice of decision, which was in April 2003, there was never anything classified or fine described as contractor yards or anything else. So that wasn't even in existence at that time. But there was a notice of decision to allow him to operate then.
Yeah, it's simply a conditional use permit for service business.
Yes.
Okay, so, we need a motion to have a public hearing. No,
No,
I'm
we
sorry, not a
need to do
public
a
hearing,
site walk first.
We need a sidewalk first.
Before we get to that, I want to follow up on my question. If it was approved as a service business, then he still is,
So service
he
business.
still is service business?
Yes.
And now we're calling it contractor yard.
Well, he's
So,
applying
you
for
know,
contractor yard.
If he doesn't, can he still
He's still gonna
remain
operate a
as
service, but he
service?
has to operate under the
The conditions
The
that we
conditions
listed.
that are on the back of this, yeah.
Should have been in these conditions anyways.
It says more than 2 dump trucks with trailers may be parked on the property.
Okay.
And that's basically what it says. That's regarding vehicles. The other materials is associated
Hours
tools
of
and
operation. Yeah.
And he has hours of operation, he has employees that are allowed to go there. He has a deep idling time, he's limited to
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the employees can't arrive before 7 AM, and then no trucks can be started before 7. So, but yes, if he decides that I'm going to, go to that, I'm going to abide by this strictly and not apply for the contractor yard, yes, he can continue operating under these conditions. But he is looking to actually become a contractor yard so he can expand his fleet.
He's looking for yard two, isn't he?
He's looking for yard too.
I've had DEP there, my neighbors called twice within a month. I got a clean bill of health from the oil and hazmat, and then Audie went over and give another clean bill of health. This has been going on for 15 years, same stuff. I posted my property, no trespassing signs. People tear them down. This time I posted them on Father's Day, and I put cameras up so that I can see what's going on now. I mean, the only place you can see anybody's home at all is I can see Mr. Giles' roof. And when I built my house, he had the gall to ask me, why can't I build back a little farther?
So, I want to go back to another point that Marty brought up about having plans. I don't recall ever going on a sidewalk without having something about knowing where things are, where they belong, where the streams are, where the parking area is. Right? So we'll be walking in there just blind, I'd like to see something so that we have an idea of what we're looking at when we get there.
Yeah, I agree with that, I was gonna bring up the same point, we have nothing.
We have the aerials.
The aerial's
That's not
not.
a plan.
No, this is the plan.
Well, we'll just get an engineer and get a plan.
So your recommendation is that we wait until we get a submission, a proper submission with
I'd
the
rather do it to follow precedent and do it the right way and
Not a problem?
plan and go there.
Yeah, Marty?
We've had some of them turn on, basically turn on, we were up over on Sam's Road. Turn on, it wasn't, it was pinned and staked, but it was not turn on a full engineer plan. So I mean, in point, I mean, at least, if we have a layout,
Yeah.
okay? Doesn't have to necessarily be kind of somewhat to scale at least, but turn on but not a full engineering plan
At this point.
at this point. I mean, but just a layout of what things are and everything else.
This isn't an existing operation, and in that case, it was just the land and with the road pinned out.
This, I would argue that this is not an existing operation. He wants to become a contractor yard two, and he has to meet all of the requirements for it, because he never submitted during the 2-year period that we were allowing people who had yards to come and say to us, here, I'm gonna become in compliance. That never happened, so this is a brand-new application to create a brand-new use.
So can I ask the applicant a question on this? or-
Sure.
Do you have plans in mind that you want, like where, or are you just gonna, what's already in existing?
It's what exists. I mean, took an aerial, but I don't know if you got a picture of it. But
Well,
I had-
through the chair, I think the applicant offered to submit some engineered plans.
well, they can measure it. I don't mind hiring an engineer, whatever this town wants, it will be done.
I mean, he's already been to the selectmen, this isn't, if he's offering, this is what we want, this is something we can actually see, and I understand Mr.
Well, I mean, it's,
McGinnis. Well, how do you go out without a real plan with distances and?
We have gone before
Yeah.
on drawings that are, on sidewalks, for drawings that were staked out, it gave us an idea, and we had the pins in the ground, and we had some idea. What I was telling Mr. Stilfen at the beginning was that when we show up to do the sidewalk, we're gonna need that information.
we're gonna have to have some,
Yeah, we will.
and at some point, but at some point, you're gonna have to give us an actual submitted plan from an
Right.
engineer with everything laid out.
I mean, this is what it's gonna be, the same as it is right here.
That's not gonna work.
I know, but I'll get a plan. I'll just have to get myself an engineer, but it's very plain and simple. That's my driveway, I'm in there 1,250 feet, then my house, and it goes right around the circle, and this is where my truck's
That
parked.
doesn't show where the property lines are, where.
Oh, I'm way
streets might
away
be.
from them, because Dewey's the one built right on the property line. He's 25 feet on it, and he hasn't been happy since.
Okay, so what do you wanna do?
Just one point, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
One of the reasons we do go, we do the sidewalk sometimes is, in situations where we have existing conditions, we determine how much additional work we need to have done. You don't wanna send a surveyor out there and then send it back again to do a topo. If we need topo, terrific, then that does it in one shot. If we need wetlands delineation because they're within the area of work, then yeah, you need that delineated. But the point is, sometimes we go out there with not all of the information, so we can advise the applicant what additional information they're going to need, what they don't need, it's germane to the application. That's one of the ways we do, we've done this many times before, and advise the applicant, yeah, you need this, and this. And yes, we need all of this. So, that's the only reason that one of the reasons we want to do the sidewalk as soon as possible, to give him advice. So,
Would that work for you, Tom?
Just won't know what I'm looking at. There's the truck, there's the other truck, there's the house, so what's the plan?
We're gonna need some kind of a sketch plan
Right.
and something on the ground that has been staked out that says, this is the area that we're looking at. If we show up and it looks like the drawing that you have given us, and there is nothing delineated to say that this is where the storage yard is going to be and this is where my vehicles are gonna be parked. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm leaving.
Whatever you want.
We need to have some kind of a submission that details the information, so that we can at least get an idea, that we can then look at it and say, you're going to have some kind of an engineered survey, it's going to have to spell out these different areas. Mr. Bassett?
I just want to make clear that the entire property in question drains onto my property. There has been fuel oil transfers on this property without a containment dike or a sock or any of the things that the gentleman from Plymouth Brook were discussing. I'm confused, to be perfectly honest, as to why the procedure is supposed to be that before a business takes on new operations on a site, like Branch Brook, that they come before this board and they submit an application, they have a site walk, they do all the engineering, they get a conditional use permit, and then they start doing what it is that the conditional use permit says that they can do. Mr. Stilfen has been doing whatever he wanted to do on that property since 2000. There was an issue in 2003 where he was granted
Just
a
move it.
permit that, my understanding is there wasn't really any basis in the land use ordinance for the permit, but the permit was issued. He's been in violation of that permit continuously, as far as I can tell. So if the board is going to have a site walk, it seems to me that in addition to having a drawing, there should be, at the very least, a detailed explanation of what is and what is not going to occur on the property. You've had illegal drug manufacturing in addition to the fuel oil transfers.
No.
And this, I don't understand the permitting after the fact process.
Well, it's not permitting that.
Yes, in this instance, it is not permitting after the fact. He has the right to ask for a contractor yard 2 in that district. And it's my understanding is that that is what we are being asked for. He reached an agreement with the Board of Selectmen, and they entered into a consent agreement that allowed him to come here, because he came back in April, and we denied him because we could not listen to what he had to say, because he was in violation, and he had to enter into a consent decree with the Board of Selectmen. Can I throw my phone out the window? It just beeps at me.
Why don't you turn it off?
It is turned off. Somebody sent me a message.
I got another question. I don't know where these folks come up with, illegal drug operation. I do a thing with the veterans for medical marijuana. And this is where it all boils down to. This is why Dewey called, oil hazard. He told him that I was dumping oil. What it was balls of marijuana. Dirt that the balls grow on. He calls them up and says that I'm dumping oil. The oil people come over here, and Hemingway, and she give me a clean bill of health. Dewey has done this to me since day one.
I don't know if we need to get into.
I mean, but it don't, it makes me a
really-
little upset about
But
an
that-
illegal drug
that's-
operation. DHS come down and
We won't
inspects
even
it.
be looking at that, we're just looking at the application.
Yeah,
So, can I ask a question?
You called DHS, they wouldn't give you any answers. Yeah, I did.
I have a question, I don't know what the
Called
consent
DEP and
agreement was, I just know that he was in violation, so we have a clean, avenue just to consider this as an application.
that's correct.
For a
That
contractor
is
yard,
for a contractor yard 2.
which
So-
was not in existence back in 2003. It wasn't needed.
Right.
He was running, so he could turn around and run his business of paving, okay? That was all that was done. You and I were both on the board at the time.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was drawn out to where he would park his trucks and everything else along the way. When we walked down there and did the site,
So,
when we did it then.
so in the meantime, does he have to comply with those conditions, or is he?
He has to comply with the conditions of the permit that was issued in 2003.
Okay, so right now.
If we agree to give him a contractor yard 2, then those
Then he can
conditions will
expand.
change, and he will have to comply with the conditions of the new permit. But he currently does have a permit, and he has reached a consent agreement with the Board of Selectmen. If he violates the consent agreement that he has with the Board of Selectmen, they're gonna take action against him.
Because one thing that I know I'm asking for, potentially for a delay
Turn my phone off.
in getting some plans, but I don't want an existing problem to continue too much longer, but right now, he is complying with these conditions.
So in my take, from a plan standpoint, you know, to do a site walk, what I would like to see is at least the area, you know, of use on the property laid in with a rough boundary, I mean, tax map type boundary.
Sketched out, yeah.
You know, to take that, and this is me speaking personally, and the area of existing use, delineation between what you would consider the commercial part of your operation versus your personal part of your operation, as well as the delineation of where you would propose to expand to on the property, if that is the case. You know, I think that is, you know, to have that in hand to go to the site walk will give us the basic, the very basic information that we would need to be able to conduct that with some education, not be, you know, guessing, are we 2 feet from a property line, or are we 200?
And my thought on it was that the selectmen have given him 60 days. So if he were to provide us with that information on the day that we do the sidewalk, it's a start.
Right.
Because he's facing a time restraint from the.
Have they given him 60 days to do what?
That's a really good question. If I read what they gave him, he had 60 days
To do what?
to get a permit from us.
which is
I-
pretty realistic. Yeah.
Is that, am I correct in that understanding, Phil? Is that what this agreement was?
I think that's close.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was 90, but it was in that area.
60.
yeah, it does say 60, and I was under
We
the
didn't want
impression.
this to be legal to go on and on and on and on.
Correct.
We wanted it to work, we wanted you guys to work it and go get this thing squared.
And that's why I'm willing to say, if the quickest we can get out there and do a sidewalk would be like July 13th. And if he were to provide us with that information at that point, we can proceed forward. I don't know, unless you guys want to do it.
I would be fine if that was submitted to us that day.
Yeah.
Well, that's Mr. Chairman, through the chair, I mean, the general public's gonna wanna be able to look at these plans too. If I were a board member, I'd wanna see them a week ahead of time, or a few days.
Well,
But this is just a rough
This
sketch.
is a sketch for a site walk, for us to have something in front of us while we're walking, not to review for
It's not-
any basis of merit of his application.
It's a normal process that is used all the time by the board,
Yeah,
right?
yes, sir.
No,
I'd just like to give some information, so that the board understands why we're even here. It's just a piece of paper
Okay.
that Bill provided, so I'm just gonna give it to you guys, and I'm gonna give a copy to Bill. So he understands, and you all understand why we're here, why we're concerned.
yeah, through the chair.
Yeah, Marty.
Okay, when he talked to the selectmen, okay, whatever the purpose or anything else was, I don't know what it related to. None of us have been privileged to what you're reading and what I've known about. That's why I'm saying is, I don't know the reason why he went to the selectmen at all in the first place.
He went to the selection because he was cited by the CEO for being in violation of the permit that he got in 2003.
Okay,
And the
that's all I have to
selectmen
know.
reached a consent agreement.
That's all I didn't know. That's why I'm trying to ask the question.
Okay, I think it's self-explanatory.
So we have to read it. I was on a
You know, that's a really good question, Ted.
What's that?
The decision that was reached on April 10th, 2003, the Arundel Planning Board voted to approve the conditional use to establish a paving contract and service business for 1 year, as shown on the plan entitled William and Star Stilton with 5 conditions. This permit should have been renewed every year.
Yeah, that's-
Never have had them done before that way.
Well, yeah, no, I
No,
understand.
no, I'm
I was
just
on
saying,
the board, you were on the board, Tom was
I
on the
don't
board.
remember it being a renewable. I mean, it was just a conditional use to allow them to operate. I mean, that's,
Well, we're working
Well,
on a
it's,
new
yeah,
plan
at this
anyway, so-
point, we're working on a new plan, so it's
Yeah.
kind of moot smooth for us. So,
Anytime, excuse me, anytime that something went wrong with the town and they called, Jim would come over, Jim Dago, code enforcer, and he'd say, Bill, you'd have to stop this. I stopped it. When the DEP come over, she said, Bill, your silk fence is a little rotten. So she asked me to go get, stump chips.
grindings.
Behind. So I did it the next day. So that was out of the way. Anything that the town or the DEP has ever asked me, I have done. And we don't have any streams going through my property. It's nothing but swamp on that end, because I was up to my knees in it, putting up the signs for no trespassing.
so let's schedule a sidewalk and proceed forward. We could sit here for the rest of the night discussing different scenarios. The reality is that we need to go out there and look at the site. Mr.
Technical
Bassett.
item, just want to point out that I cannot participate in the site walk as a board member,
So we're all
therefore
gonna
you
have to-
need to have a quorum.
We'll go over that later on that question too.
Let's make it, July 13th, before the meeting.
July 13th, 6 PM?
I'll be in California.
So, Can you guys make it?
Don't have enough members.
Will if you make it, Marty? There'll be 4 of us.
Could be a
Well,
Saturday.
today with Depends on what time I get out of the shop. I mean,
Schedule it, same as the rest of us do.
well, hey, I got, I mean,
That's why you're board member.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to have an opportunity to speak. My name is Lynn Howe. I am on McChipkey Road at the end. And Mr. Stilton presents himself as very innocent in this whole process, and I know 2003 that we came to the planning board and he was granted a permit. But he's lived outside that permit for quite some time, which is why he's under a consent agreement with the town for both the amount of equipment that he has on site. He had, as Dewey passed out, an illegal oil operation that he never came to the town and applied for a permit. He was told not to transfer oil from the tanker that was on there. He had no, and I don't know the technical terminology when you have oil storage on your facility, but there has to be some sort of spill prevention plan, just like Mr. Hughes had presented to you. That was just in a tanker sitting there. A tree could have fallen on it and it would have contaminated all of our surrounding properties. He has an illegal marijuana operation that he is not permitted for, never approached the town for a permit. And being a resident with 2 children on that road, I have a number of issues with his judgment that he's made himself, which has really been 14 years of blatant disregard of the town of Arundel's land use ordinances. He has been told by Jim Nagel to not do things, and then, I mean, he's under a consent agreement for 2 things because he did not obey what the town has told him to do. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but my house is my most valuable asset. My husband and I have worked very hard, as long as we've had it, to try to pay it down, to fund our kids' college tuition, and then ultimately our retirement. It is what we've been working for. We've lived there for 19 years, we've raised our family there, and his actions and his judgments, not just in total contrast to what is required by the town of Arundel, but it's putting our properties at risk, everybody on McChipkey Road, Chip's property, and that's a real problem for me, because he hasn't exercised good judgment for years. He hasn't respected the permit that he's been supposedly operating under, and he's done things on his own volition without coming to the town. So that's separate from, but in addition to, the legal argument that we have that he shouldn't even be allowed to apply for a permit there. His history has shown that he does not comply with what the town says or does. I don't have any faith or confidence in him. He'll tell you that he's gonna follow all your rules and do everything, but as soon as you walk down the road, he's gonna do what he wants. That is what he's been doing for 14 years. I have to protect my property and my largest asset, as do my neighbors. And I have to say, some very serious concerns about the fact that there's 160 or some odd marijuana plants that Jim Nagel told us about. When he went down, based on the information that there was excess equipment there, I have 2 kids. One of them's in high school, and one of them's in middle school. When you have marijuana around, you know what kind of people that invites into your neighborhood. And there's probably also cash, and that is not, this is not what we moved into. This is not why I chose Arundel to live in. This is not why I built my house and expanded our house, all with appropriate permits, to live in. We live here, we raised our kids here, and my property is the only thing that we have, and I can't sit by quietly watching somebody live outside their permits and put my property and our neighbor's property at risk.
Thank you. Somebody make a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before you do that, we might have a conflict on the 13th. Because we're supposed to have an executive session that may not occur on the 29th. The next available date is going to be the 13th, and you're going to need that time before that meeting.
Give him a Saturday.
It's up to you guys. I can make a Saturday work.
Or any other day.
Saturday would be better.
I'll make any day work.
Saturday would be
Other
better.
than Wednesday, I can make any day work.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be on a Thursday. But I think we should reserve that day for potentially have that exec session.
The 8th, I believe, is a Saturday. Let's see, this. Yeah, the 8th is a Saturday.
I can't make it. No state.
Summertime.
I don't like to travel on that side of Route 1 in the summer.
You can get onto that side of Route 1?
Yeah, you're allowed on that side of that one?
I mean,
I'll be there on a Saturday.
yeah, I think that the 8th would, be good for me.
The 8th works, okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
Roger.
So we've got 4 of us that can be there on the 8th. Somebody make a motion.
You won't be able to make it there. Either me not make it or Roger not there.
And, well, the problem with the 13th is
Oh,
we
that,
may
you
end
have
up
that, okay.
with another issue. Somebody make a motion for the 8th.
Yep.
At 8 o'clock?
No.
Come on.
Come on, Marty.
Okay.
We wanna get this done.
9 o'clock at 8.
And I will impress that please be there, don't not have a quorum, right?
What if I can't have these engineers papers made up by then? I
We
mean,
don't need the formal engineer papers. We're going to need something that's, even if it's a hand drawing that says, this is what the property looks like, this is where my house is, this is where the operation is going to take place, and on the ground, we want you to have it staked out as to where that operation consists of.
okay.
Billy,
That's what we need for that sidewalk.
I think, Bill, before, when we had in 2003, I think you presented us with like a plot plan then, okay, where the trucks were gonna be parked and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm just using that
I
as a,
parked them before on the other side where my lawn is now.
I'm
But I
just
moved
going
them so
by,
they wouldn't
I'm
be
going
near
by
Dewey's
back
house.
then.
I think what Marty's saying is that may be a plan you could use as the basis
Yeah,
for what
okay.
we look at
Yeah.
at the sidewalk.
Yeah, and then whatever I need from there, you can let me know.
Okay, Marty, you made a motion.
Yeah.
Anyone seconded? It's for 8 o'clock in the morning.
Did Marty make that motion?
Marty made a motion.
Marty said
Marty
9.
made the motion for 9.
I said
I'm sorry.
9.
I'm sorry, I heard you.
I'll second
I heard you.
that.
Ah, all right, okay. So, we have a motion for 9 o'clock on July 8th to do a sidewalk. It has been seconded by Tom. All those in favor?
Yep.
Yep. And Roger's abstaining because he's gonna be out of town. So we will be out there at 9 AM on July 8th.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda. You have the equestrian. Got it out here at one point. Okay, you have the proposed equestrian ordinance out here?
Yes, but I don't believe there's any.
I don't believe there's anybody, is there
Was
anybody in the
anybody
public that wants to
contacted?
talk to us about it? No,
Was anybody contacted?
yes.
Well, I can,
The person who gave us this is not the
I've got employees who come to.
Who gave us the order?
Davis.
Listen,
She gave us this
trespass
actually?
on my property all the time.
This is what we had worked on, and we made a change to it.
What?
I'm doing what the law asks.
What did she change? Dot an I cross T?
Can I make a, just comments, I think this is great, except I, just a minor question, if I may, on the equestrian center, it's not allowed in DB one nor DB two. Is there any reason why you won't be allowed in DB two? Seems like it could be a viable commercial enterprise.
We got them all, because they're allowed everywhere else. And we've got most of the town in the R4 district that they're actually better suited for. And remember, we don't have that much good land available for business, or the other kinds of businesses we want. So, all the requests I've had for commercial equestrian centers have all been up in the western part of town.
In the country?
In the country, basically. Off Thompson Road.
No, you got them off the River Road too.
Well, I have an existing, but I'm talking about people who have said, I want to.
But just because people want it out in those districts doesn't mean that someone may not want it.
But ask yourself, do you want, we don't have that much space in the DB 1 and 2.
We allow campgrounds in that area, I think this is probably a better use than a campground.
Well, that we're gonna discuss it on the 6th. Whether we want to continue to have a campgrounds in those areas. So. Phil for staying and being our audience.
Dan will do that.
Oh, good.
We need the audience.
We got two. Well, that's why, basically, you know, the DB1 and DB2, I mean, they're allowed as.
Well, let's put it this way, Tom.
conditional uses.
Yeah,
Okay, just the thought of it, this, okay? You have horses. This is what we're dealing with, okay? More noise, meaning traffic or anything else, cars,
yeah.
trucks, or anything else. It's safer to have them out of an area of that than within a business district.
Quick, for the horse's sake, you mean?
Yeah,
Well, I'm
but
thinking,
also for the participants.
I'm thinking for, if I was a neighbor to an equestrian center, that's gonna be like events, a lot of traffic, could be 600 people showing up or something. I'd rather not have that clogging up our roads and the R4. I think it would work well in DB2.
But, okay, in theory, okay, in DB2, you know where it is, okay, where would you see that fit? I mean, no, I'm using that as an
If
example.
someone has property, has 20 acres in that zone, they thought of having an equestrian center, I'd say, why not? I think it makes more sense there than in a neighborhood. The equestrian center is for rentals, riding, dressage shows, training, so it'd be indoor and outdoor riding rinks, paddocks, corrals.
Well,
So,
And, you know, and I'm following your logic, because of the three different breakouts of
yeah.
stable, equestrian stable, commercial stable, and equestrian center, it's the most commercial
Most commercial,
of
even
the
though the other
three
was called commercial.
versus, you know, an equestrian stable being
The
the
owners
most,
showing up.
right, the most, what you would consider rural or more traditional to a, you know, a farm.
Yeah. This is.
but also too, if you follow Route 35 up, all right, and you follow that up, okay, going up to near 5 and 35, right up through there, okay?
Dayton there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, but turn out, that is also an equestrian center, okay?
And I've driven by there'd be 200 vehicles and.
But I'm just saying that it's,
Right, it's a good thing to have, but maybe not
but
in
you,
the neighborhood.
you need, for that kind of stuff, you need more acreage, okay, for the animals, okay? Not necessarily besides parking, but I'm just saying for the animals and everything else along the way. That's why I say out farther, and that's considered rural.
I understand that, and I agree with that, but I'm thinking the property owners that are in those rural areas having 200 vehicles parking, driving down the road to get to that event.
But the fact also is, you turn around, your equestrian center is gonna have to have enough amount of land to be able to, cover it all.
Yeah.
And in your DB2 zone, there isn't enough.
Yeah.
The one that's at 5 and 35 isn't an equestrian center. It's a commercial stable.
That's right.
I know who it is. If you wanna see the equestrian center, turn left on Route 5 and head up the road. And just as you cross into Dayton or Lyman, there is a spot on the left-hand side that has huge events out there.
But that, I
It's
think,
called
Right
Hollis,
right
by
at
the way.
35 and 5.
It's called Hollis.
Right on
Is
the-
that what
right
it
on the
is?
Yeah,
line.
that's what it is.
It's okay.
It's in Hollis.
Because it,
But actually, the one.
5 and
the
35
quarter- Yeah, the quarter horse is
is a
there.
commercial.
No, that's equestrian center. They got more than 30 horses out there. They board,
Yeah, they don't have that many.
they
The last time I was out there, they had a dozen stables. They don't have a lot that
they
they
have
board.
more stalls than that.
Not any, well, they might
They have
now.
2 indoor riding, they have an indoor riding rink and they have and 2 exterior riding rinks and a trail riding.
They do have a lot of trails and a lot of riding, but they don't have a lot of stables. They don't do a lot of boarding there.
most of what they do, end up doing there is handicapped.
Therapeutic.
Yeah, they
Therapeutic,
do the
right.
therapeutic thing.
Yeah, they don't do
Because
a
that's what
lot,
money is.
they don't do a lot of other stuff.
So let me just say this one more, and then I'll let it go. I think this is as much of a business enterprise, that the equestrian center as anything else we have in Route One. It brings in dozens or hundreds of people at one time. We don't have, I don't know if we, except for Bentley, I don't think we have anything else that draws a crowd like that, like this could. And I think, I'd rather see that kept out of the residential neighborhoods.
I don't have a problem sticking it in DB2. I don't have a problem with it in the R4. Generally speaking, I will admit, putting something like that on the Thompson Road would be a nightmare.
It's called an arterial in this town by our own ordinance. It's considered to be an arterial road.
Okay?
We high tight.
But,
Guys classified.
you know, for me, it's, you know, I have nothing one way or the other on it. I was kind of surprised to see that it wasn't, it is allowed in the BI. I don't know if that was a cross out that we did, or.
Milda did that.
Milda
The
did.
question in some of the BI, I
Okay.
don't see it.
It's kinda hard to climb rocks.
Exactly. And they can pass it out there. Are you kidding?
I mean, I understand Tom's point about people coming in, but when you're talking about a facility big enough to be boarding 30 or more horses, and the land requirement, putting that, quite frankly, in either of any of the business districts doesn't make sense to me. Because it's just, we've got a limited amount of land that is on highways, on non-arterial roads. And to have it for something that might have a show twice. I grew up just a quarter mile from a place that had 2 huge horse shows a year. And so for 5 days, twice a year, there were hundreds and hundreds of cars and all kinds of activity. But the rest of the time, even though there were, I don't know, 50, I had no idea whether it was 50 or 100 horses there, but there was not much going on, but it used a lot of land. And I think it's a mistake to have something this big. I'm sorry, what's the, okay. I think it's a mistake to have it in a business district.
Well, maybe it doesn't belong in business district, but I don't know if it belongs in the residential. You might as well have a theater that brings in 200 people driving down the road to get there.
We did, Tom.
We have.
Run the playoffs.
Tiger Hill.
That's in DB1.
Now,
It was R4.
Yeah, before we made the change. Yeah, when it was a Rundle Theater, it was R4.
Okay.
So what do you want to say? You want to say knock it out of the R3 and?
I don't know, I don't think it'll be happening in my neighborhood, because it's.
no,
it's
you got too
very
many trains,
already
you'll spook
developed,
them.
But, yeah.
You'll
let's
spook
on
'em.
Let's on the train.
Given the
tracks.
recommendation that we got from the comp plan, who thinks that we should combine R2 and R3, I would say take it out of the R3. Because you could end up in an area that's just way too small,
Right.
and too crowded.
I was thinking the same thing, that R3 might be a stretch.
So just having that 4, you're saying?
Or for equestrian centers.
Right.
For the center.
And-
This
right.
could be a major impact.
And VI not be allowed
I
for
don't
the
think,
equestrian
I
center?
don't think you have enough room.
I agree with you, Marty.
So you probably won't
There's no
have
place that, there's no good pasturage that you can make.
Yeah, you got rocks,
No rocks.
ledge, and then that'll hurt the horses more than anything else.
Well, unless you're doing.
You have
Unless you're gonna put them in
One
seasonal
of those, You're
cottages.
doing trail walking out west.
Unless you put them in with the seasonal cottages.
I mean, I'm not an expert in this field by any means, but is there the potential to have a center that would be viable in the VI district as more of a truly transient place for people to bring horses to do events.
I guess I don't understand.
Trailer them all or most of them in.
Like the one Route 5 in Hollis.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not.
Yeah, it's,
familiar.
That has no facilities or.
it has nothing.
It's
It's
just
got
a
a
big
field.
field.
couple of fences.
I mean, I think of it, you know, I mean, the biggest one that I've ever dealt with, I've dealt with a number of them, the biggest one I've ever dealt with is up at Pineland.
Yep.
That's a 100 stall stable and.
What's the one in Wells?
I don't know that one. I know the Pineland one well, because they have a lousy alarm system there. And, but most of them are, you know, around 30 horses, 40 horses. But, you know, you can have an event even at a 10 horse. The thing is, events can occur anywhere you've got an outdoor ring. If you've got big enough ring to be able to do dressage, you know, you'll have an event. And most places that do teach dressage will always have an end of the year graduation, and they'll put on an event, and they might have some competitions. You know, you have the loudspeaker, and everybody parks all over the roads, and you know, it's for a couple of days, and then it goes away until the next one. You know,
It's
6
just
months
like
later.
kindergarten graduation.
It's like that, only with equines. So,
Behave.
oh yeah,
Well,
that's
that's what we're doing when we came in, with kindergarten.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay,
I wasn't sure.
I just thought I'd bring it up.
legitimate thing to bring up. But, I mean, the R3, I mean,
I
Considering-
think your point about the potential combination of R2 and R3
Yep.
makes it prudent to take it out of R3.
Yeah,
Now, question for,
the equestrian
But-
center you're talking about, right?
Yes.
yeah.
now, for thought, will we have a stable or past stable, which was just down the street, okay?
Yeah.
And that is actually in the R1 zone.
Yep.
That was allowed years ago, which still technically still could be,
That's
because
gonna be a pet daycare center.
now it is, but I'm just saying, it still could be, because it turned out it was a use that was allowed.
It wasn't really, yeah, it was allowed, and the thing that we're gonna run into, and I would say, we just got an object lesson here, gentlemen. Right out, just the last application. The reality is we're suburbanizing, and the more we have residential areas going into what we think of as rural areas, the more we're gonna have conflicts. And, even things like stables with their events are going to probably be considered to be conflicts by people who wanna be in a residential area, even though, you know, even though they're in a quote-unquote rural area, a rural zone. So the issue is, we gotta be careful about, you know, putting some of these things in residential areas, because.
That's what I was thinking, we're gonna get complaints.
Let me give you an example. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the field where the belted Galloways
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Yep.
But somebody bought a lot at the end of that field that's accessed by Durrell's Woods Road and called the sheriff at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning complaining because the cows were mooing. The cows had been there since at least 1939 when my grandparents bought the place, but positive it was a cow farm. Before then, these people moved in sometime in the 1980s, and they literally were calling the cops because the cows were mooing.
They have to come from out of state.
Not necessarily.
They were from Massachusetts, but,
I believe some of the
but-
Portland people.
it's an example of the kind of expectations that people have. I will immediately add, I don't think the previous application is anything like that. That's an entirely different situation, but.
Well, when I was looking at this, that's what I was thinking, it's like living next to something like that. There's gonna be a lot of people who are just gonna get fed up and start complaining, but we'll be allowing it. So, but I'll go either way, I think.
I'll
it'd be-
get, Tom,
Yeah.
I'll give you another example, like he was worrying about the cows mooing, okay? How many years has Go Down Light Station been down in Cape Porpoise? Example, okay? Just because some flatlander moved in, they were complaining about the foghorn blowing, okay?
Yeah.
And now they turn around and actually silenced it because it's, even though it's an age, a navigation and everything else, because somebody's complained because the foghorn went off and it bothered them. So I mean,
People pay money to hear that.
Yeah.
That's why they come to me, to hear that foghorn blow.
I gotta say, if anybody's been in Stage Island Harbor when the fog rolled in, you need a foghorn.
well, you need a foghorn coming into Cape Porpoise too.
Okay, and then, another question I had is at the very end, limitation of equine populations, that's the number of
Giddy up.
individual. Okay, it does say we may
Or
limit the
zebras.
number of equine species. I think species would be, I was thinking mules and.
Yeah.
But species is, how many species of equine?
There's thousands of them,
There's lots.
horses.
And why would we care to do that?
Well, you can.
So he's,
We wanna limit it just to quarter horses? I mean, mules are big, donkeys are big, donkey rides are big. Some people are.
No,
Zebras.
Tom's asking a perfectly reasonable question, which is,
More
why,
use.
if, as long as it is an equine,
A horse, a mule, or other domesticated member of the Equus genus.
the equus genus, there you go, as long as it is,
Domesticated.
as long as it is an
Yeah, we have to be
equine.
domesticated so we don't get
Species is-
zebras.
A horse versus zebra versus mule or donkey. Those
A
are the-
zebra is not,
I don't know.
it's not
It's not
part of
Where-
the genus.
where are you looking at,
It's
Tom?
not part of the.
It's,
what about
at the
equine?
very end, E.
Limitations
4E.
of equine populations,
I can just put.
the very last page.
Equines, yeah.
Well, isn't a camel a horse designed by
Let's get to
committee?
the subject.
Well, no, I mean,
I needed this instead.
I'm sorry, but we're looking at 4E, and I'm asking myself, why does this board need to get into whether or not somebody can raise Shetland ponies versus thoroughbreds versus
Yeah.
Peruvian
Clydesdales.
pesos? I don't give a
Yeah.
darn.
they all eat hay and grain.
And
they all do other
It's got
things.
4 feet
So-
of mane and a
So,
tail,
but,
and
but
it has
in
to-
looking at this, is it intended to be species or number of animals?
Number of
Right.
animals,
So species is the wrong term.
Right.
yeah.
Equines then,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Equines would be
Number?
fine.
Yeah.
And I think that would actually make more sense, because if we say we can limit the number of species, we're not saying how many of each species you can have out there. We're only gonna allow you to have 3 different species of animals.
Yeah, I think
And actually, I had one more question, the top of that same page, number 5.
So we're changing that to equine units?
No,
just equines.
Just
no,
equines.
units of-
No
It's
units.
just gonna say, they limit the number of equines.
Okay.
I think we have
Animal
some,
units any second now.
Okay.
we have some extra words we can get rid of. Number 5 at the top says, accepting security lighting, all exterior lighting except security lighting. It's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
So that's,
Except
that's
think
fine.
about the
security lighting,
content.
The
all,
I think is great. God, I think the content on everything is excellent, except for maybe where the center belongs.
I found the one
That's the only
change,
thing, you know,
I found the one change that the person who wrote this article made.
What?
And that is in the very first paragraph on the very first page. Under equestrian stables,
Yeah.
indoor riding rinks are prohibited. Of course, it got left down below in number 1, but
Right.
at the top, it got, personally, I think indoor riding rinks should be prohibited. I can't think of a good reason though. I can't, but
Well, actually, my logic for doing it, when I was reading other ordinances, was that an indoor riding rink is expensive. And if you're gonna put in an indoor riding rink, I mean, everybody, you know, people have stables that have riding rinks, okay, that's part of being a horse owner. But an indoor riding rink is an expensive thing, and you will be tempted to Right. To board and have shows in order to pay for that thing.
Right.
And that was why,
But
What was it?
if you meet the conditions of the equestrian stable, and you've got gobs of money, like certain attorneys in Arundel that live on River Road, and you wanna have an
Took these
indoor,
down.
Well,
and
land
you wanna
barons.
have, you wanna have an indoor riding ring, then I don't see why it should be prohibited.
it was with the taxes.
Huh?
So,
Good
You
tax.
just want the taxes.
I don't have any problem with the taxes, if it meets the criteria of an equestrian stable, and somebody wants to spend $80,000 on an indoor riding rink for 5 horses, why not?
yeah,
I've actually got friends that live up in Harrison, and she's got
so,
a
so I
barn.
only see
She's
one.
got an indoor riding stable, I think she's got 3 horses there.
Given
She
that,
gives lessons,
Yeah.
but her
given that
husband
change, you
built the
need to
damn
take it,
thing.
Okay.
given that change, we need to take it out of number 1 as well.
Yeah, down
Because the
the
very
farm.
last sentence in number, equestrian
Oh,
stable
I'm
stuff
sorry.
below says
Well,
exactly the same thing.
Well, it would, that's,
Yeah, I'm scratching.
yeah, okay. I had one issue which has to do with driveway designs, and I'm sorry, I'm not as familiar as I would like to be, but for the, I get mixed up about this, but for the equestrian stable, which is, what, 10 or fewer equines, driveways have to meet the design standards of a 2-lot private way. How big you know, the lady that's right there at the railroad tracks on the River Road, how big of a cost impact is it gonna have on her to make her comply with this?
It's 15 feet wide. Enough so one car can pull over so the car is
I
in the other
understand.
direction
Okay.
can get by.
It's-
But they both can't necessarily pass each other.
What else is required though? I mean, how
That's
much,
it.
there's no
Gravel
requirement
surface.
about how deep the gravel has to be or anything?
If you wanna make it less, fine, we can make it less.
I'm asking what the requirements of a
Look it up.
design
Look it up in
standard.
your ordinance.
All right, and then while I'm looking that up, we've got the driveway design for the commercial equestrian stable.
3 lot.
Is the 3-lot standard, which I'm not sure what that is, but then you've got the exact same requirements, a 3-lot private way,
Oh, yeah,
for an equestrian center where you've got 30 or more horses. I question whether the 3-lot private way is adequate.
It's 18 feet.
18 feet and what else?
And shoulders. Below it. It's a commercial facility, better than what the.
15
street-
inches depth of gravel, not that overkill.
I'm sorry, we're, okay.
It's on
Section
page
5.
57. Maybe the commercial equestrian stable could be the 2-lot level.
Feasibility wise, most of the time you're gonna have either a truck or an SUV, and if you're hauling around
Right.
a heavy nag or something or another, but guess what? It's gonna be heavy, okay, with a trailer. So you're gonna need some basis,
Stable, yeah.
something basis to drive a vehicle on, instead of slopping in the mud and countersinking it and everything else.
Yeah, good point.
And these are commercial facilities, remember, this isn't your stable, your back stable that you get yourself. This is a commercial operation. This is basically what Amanda Boutette's got out there. And she's got a 20-foot road.
Now, what about do we have, if somebody comes in if it's written this way, do they have to have a 50-foot right-of-way
No, the
for
road
the
is
10
built-
horse?
No, the road is built to the standards. If you want, the only reason I made that reference was instead of putting this long list of construction standards in there, I thought I'd just reference something we got already. I think common sense would say, look, it's a driveway. This is a commercial driveway, is what it is.
But those are all 50 feet.
No, the right of way is 50 feet for a road. This is not a
Right.
road, this is a commercial driveway.
But you wouldn't have a right of way
You wouldn't
associated
have a
with
right
a
of way
commercial driveway.
associated with it. It would have its own.
Yes, you would.
Okay.
No, you wouldn't.
Why not?
It's only
But you're going
along
through
the
it.
Well, it's a private road leading into your site, right?
Yeah, but guess what?
So that is a right of way. But
I'm gonna use the
into it,
Brutets, because they have a commercial, they have an equestrian
right of
center.
way associated.
No, no, that's.
Basically.
These are the guys that are off Thompson, right?
Yeah, Equestrian Way, she had to build that up to a three-lot standard,
Yep.
okay? And then she put her driveway in, effectively it was just about a three-lot center. Three-lot, the same sort of thing, was 18 feet.
Right, so the driveway is 18 feet, but the
But
right
the
of way
road-
itself is 50.
The road, but the, maybe that was a bad example. Yeah, because I just confused you. She needed to have legal access, she needed legal frontage, that was the problem. She was coming off of that road, she wasn't gonna come off of Thompson Road. She wanted to come off of that road, so she had to make an improvement to that road.
Right, I
Because she
remember
had-
when we walked it.
What?
You guys didn't
It may
have
not be
enough staff review.
appropriate.
Yeah, it was. I
Oh,
I
but you
was
were there, that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. You
So-
were.
okay,
So
I-
yeah,
I-
it doesn't require all that other stuff, it was just the design standards, which mean what your depth of gravel is and what your width of the road is.
Right.
Now, if you want to specify it out here so there's no confusion, I'll be happy to do that, I just was trying to shorten it up.
Let's not make it more.
I understand, I still, I'm looking at this and I'm asking myself if, I'm okay as long as we're clear that the 50-foot right-of-way is not a requirement.
I could change it to the dimensional and gravel requirements of
Thank you,
sections.
that
Would
would
that
be,
work better?
that
And I'll
would be
get rid of
great.
all this other stuff that's in.
That would be great. However, I still maintain that when you've got a facility.
I would say the dimensional and construction
Standards.
Dimensional and construction standards? Okay.
But the equestrian center, 30 or more horses, that is a big,
That's a mother.
that's a big operation.
that's should be
What-
8
what-
plus.
I do too.
It should be paved?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, you
No,
know,
I do.
considering what you're putting out there,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
I think, I would agree with that.
Because
See,
it
you're
is-
too.
Because it is such a big,
Hard. Give you an 8 lot.
Well,
because it is
that's
such a big operation, that the argument could be made that it is valid,
I mean,
to say you have to pay that.
I was about to use the 5 and 35, but I guess I can't, because you're telling me that I'm wrong, but it's not 30 horses there. Swear.
The only thing
They
is.
might have 30
hey,
horses,
hey,
they don't board 30 horses.
Okay, well, what do they do with the others?
They're brought in and dropped off. Those are, people bring their own
Those are
horses in and
daycare
ride around.
horses?
No, they bring their own horses in
Or in
and
a
they
vet.
ride around in the stables,
And then
and then they leave.
trailer them off?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't have that many horses out there.
no, you see, they also turn out, it's like, they kinda like rent the horse for the day so they can get compensated for it, and then they take it home.
I don't know.
It's,
It's,
I don't want to get in the middle of that one.
Second, I'm having qualms about it. It's an expensive requirement, but, so what, let me play devil's advocate with myself. What's the downside if somebody has a gravel road
none.
to the 3 to 7 lot standards, and they're bringing in, they got 45 horses there. The downside is that the road's gonna come apart
Take a beating.
pretty damn quick, right?
Yep. But it
And-
might only
and-
be,
And then is that a public safety issue, or is it just,
it becomes a public safety issue if rescue has to go out there and they haven't maintained the road. and they've allowed it to get all beaten up.
Which could easily happen.
Yeah.
That could happen if we pave too. over
I'll also
10
tell you,
feet.
you're not gonna jostle a horse in the back of a trailer across the camp road. You're not gonna hurt the animal that way.
You
And
know,
if
do
you're
down
going-
the woods trails with them on a trailer.
So,
I mean,
You're unstable in the back anyway.
it could go either way. I just think that, I agree with Chip that the standard should not be the same
Right.
as it is for a commercial stable. You have a higher standard that you would meet.
Right.
And we have dictated that throughout the entire ordinance, with the exception of the driveway design. We've said that's the same as the commercial.
So you wanna make the same, you could do a 20-foot road if you wanted to, without the pavement.
And that's what I was looking at originally, because it goes 15 feet, 18 feet, 20 feet, you know, but then it says, yeah, it has to be paved as well.
I mean, the way I look at this is the equestrian center is laid out to be a pretty sizable structure, you know, lead to a lot of traffic coming in and out, a lot of heavy traffic coming in and out. You know, you got trailers,
Big trailers.
you know, big trucks, you know, the whole 9 yards. I don't have any issue whatsoever with it being the 8-lot standard.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Graduate it right up. And Ted, in that regard, you may want to clarify that in the equestrian, the commercial stable, excuse me, it referenced the 3 to 7 lot standard, not just the 3-lot private way.
Well, it's
I know
because
what you're meaning.
it's the same,
Right,
I'll say 3 lot, I'll just say the 3 lot, but it is the 3 to 7.
right.
It's the same standard for 3 to 7 lots.
I was just thinking to make it consistent with what the heading is on the table, is as a 3 to 7 lot
Okay.
private way.
Yeah, and then this would be an 8+ lot.
Right.
Yeah, now, under vermin control, should we require that there be 2 cats for every horse?
What?
I'm not gonna enforce it. Can't enforce that.
So minimum or maximum?
How big?
What were you looking at? Chip?
Chip,
Minimum or maximum 2 cats?
Chip, are you talking 2-legged or 4-legged?
I'm thinking one of them needs to be a tiger.
I'm sorry.
We take care of the food problem as well.
What species would that be?
You know, the open grain bins are a problem, but hay, if you got hay, you got rats. I mean, it's, well, hay and horse poo. But
Yeah, it'd be tough to enforce. It's in there just.
And, you know,
joking.
besides, the feed comes in big bags and
I mean, but it,
you're not gonna put it in Tupperware.
but it is in there in case there does become a problem.
Yeah.
We can fall back on it for enforcement.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean-
I was trying to be funny, but we don't need to waste any more time on that.
Okay.
One thing I do, and I'm surprised it's still in here, you know, basically, the thing that, on fencing, I'm surprised that Nova left it in here, on fencing.
Which one is it?
Where,
Well, look at section, general performance standards 4C,
Of course, okay.
paddocks, pastures, barnyards, other enclosures must be fenced to contain equines. 3, 5-rail wood or 3 to 5-rail wood, or PVC fencing, flexible rail fencing such as Centaur or Equal, or PVC coated wire strand fencing with top warning rail, should be erected along paddock or pasture frontage on a town or state road. They thought that was excessive.
Should
Or shall?
Shall.
shall?
You know,
He did say should, but it says shall.
It says shall. Reason being that, you know, horses break out of the tape. Let's face it, you know, the tape works when you have a good horse. You got a stallion, forget it.
That's
I'm
like,
just worry, you know, you just worry about horses coming out on the road.
rules work for good people.
Rules do work for good people. It's not, no, rules work for good horses.
In,
Nothing works for people.
in item number 2 there,
Most of these people are fast.
under fencing, top rail height shall be no less than the withers height of the tallest equine and no less than 1 foot from the ground. Should that be the bottom rail?
That's about right.
So I think that should be clarified.
Okay.
And the
top
bottom
and the
rail
bottom
shall
rail,
be-
I'm sorry,
Right.
bottom rail.
No less than.
Otherwise,
No
your
less
golf
than
course is
rated.
not very big.
No less than 1 foot from the ground.
Are you trying to keep it close to the ground or get it up off the ground?
Try to keep it off the ground. Should be no more, no less than.
So-
No less than
No
one.
less than,
Why-
right,
why are
no
we
less
trying to
than.
Keep it on the wall, why do we care?
This is a standard I found in
Alright.
I'm not quite sure, because I think the issue was to have a bottom rail.
Right.
Because in many cases, you can put a top rail and, you know, horses go underneath these. They can go underneath these, especially after.
Okay, I
Well, so
think
you're saying-
actually maybe it should be a bottom rail no more than 1 foot off the ground.
No,
Or
at least one
At least
foot.
1 foot.
Yeah, at least.
Okay,
Or no less than. What was the other thing you wanted me to
bottom rail, no
say?
less.
No fewer than,
No, in this case.
no less
but
words.
we're going to talk about.
Here on
the
two.
Are
difference
we
between
playing
less-
wordsmith over here?
Okay, but yeah, Tad has the direction and he can work it out.
Okay, I have
Some common sense.
a serious question.
Okay.
What is the withers height?
I have no idea, I don't know what a withers is.
I think I know what it is, but I'm not
Have a
positive.
clue.
Anybody know?
It's near the,
It's the shoulder?
it's near the shoulder, right back.
Okay.
That's what I thought, okay.
Like where you would sit?
See, this is,
No,
this is
it's
actually
actually-
why I
it's
want to
actually
win,
higher
I
than
don't know what
that.
a withers
Oh,
is.
In other words, they can't walk over them.
The saddle is where you'd sit.
Well,
can
it's
jump
so
over it,
they
but they're not gonna walk.
can't jump, because horses can, you know.
Some do, but some don't.
Some horses can
Some
jump.
crawl.
Let's put it this way.
You can get underneath, they'll crawl
You
underneath.
can keep cows in with a fence that's only 3.5 foot high, but they don't jump. Except
Usually.
Angus. Except Angus, but you need 4 foot.
You know, the other thing
Okay.
is that horses will, and I have a fence to prove it, horses will just chew the top rail right out.
They're exercising their teeth.
Yeah, they just keep biting it out and then eventually it collapses.
Is there anything else on
Okay,
this?
excellent.
So, I'm sorry that nobody was here from the equine community.
It was well-written.
It was. So on to the next item,
Okay.
which is food trucks.
Yeah.
And I would like to propose
No, that's not.
a change to food trucks.
Oh, that's not. What didn't you want to do?
What I don't like, what I think would be
This is
a
mine.
better adjustment. All I have to do is find where it is.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
There is a trailer next to, used to be Sunshine Market, I can't remember what it's called
Rainbow
today, the
Market, J. Brothers.
Sunoco station.
Just in time antiques.
Campground
Yeah.
Road and
Sea
Route
Hall.
1.
See,
Sea Hog, that is what the Board of Selectmen licensed.
Okay, that's a trailer,
Yep,
not a truck.
yep.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be clear that that's what, I thought they had licensed the truck.
Do you have a-
no, they actually, I gave you all a copy of their application, if you recall.
Yes, if you did.
Because visually, it looks like it's a trailer in the picture.
It looks like it's a Freiburg Fair
It's,
Which is,
food trailer.
actually, that's the way Dave.
That's
That's what it is.
I have a few questions, a few items on this as well. Can I bring some of them up?
Which one are you referring to? The-
Yeah, go ahead. On the food,
On the food truck, on the back, on the second page, operation requirements, G. Says the mobile food truck or mobile food trailer shall be attended at all times. It's kind of asking a lot of them, they have to stay there all night long? I think
Well,
you
it's
should,
not a vending machine.
shall be
No, no, no.
attended, they should add something like during hours of operation or while open for business or something. This says, it just says they shall be attended at all times
During operation.
during operations, yeah.
During,
Unless we want them to sit there all night.
Oh, they would like to.
Probably would. Well, that was another question I had. You have, the hours of, limited from 7 AM to 7 PM.
Same as the salt.
I've got
So-
a question about
We
think-
discussed that last time. We
Most
were-
people have
time
food
before
trucks,
that.
they probably see a prime business opportunity late, a little bit later, like 7 to 10 is probably some good dinner hour, you know.
I thought
This is
we
what you
discussed
guys-
We did that, we did.
You guys already
We
went
did.
through this.
Yeah, I
You
know.
already did the
And
decision tree
didn't-
on this.
And we didn't tweak that?
Yes, we did. You
I
said
thought we
did.
I
had.
thought we had.
No, I don't.
You guys have?
Yeah.
I think
7 is too early to close them down.
Well, that was the discussion that we were
I was
having
thinking
about.
10.
Yeah.
9 and 10 o'clock.
I think there should be at least 10.
Yeah. Okay,
So
so 10 sounds good to me.
9 cents
Somebody had
better
asked
to
for
me,
2
but-
AM, that's out of line.
No.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's out of line.
What time does Big Daddy's close? I'm actually asking a serious question.
9.
I think they
Is it
close at
9?
9, yeah.
Yeah,
I think in July they might go to 10.
It probably doesn't make sense to be open that much later. They don't have to stay open till 10.
No.
Probably,
I think our discussion revolved around the fact that the vendor himself is gonna decide at some point.
Right.
You know, why do I wanna stay open, nobody's here.
Well, especially in certain times of the year.
Well, the one that's allowed now, he asked us to stay later than 7, to stay open late, but it's in our ordinance, we couldn't change that, we couldn't waive that. So,
So-
you know, I mean, it gives them.
10 o'clock, reasonable, or 9? I like 10.
I like 10,
I like 9, but
I like 10.
It seems, 10 seems to be the predominant,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
my opinion would be give them till 10, and if they're not doing business, they're not staying.
That's
They're
right.
gonna close
Close
it.
up whenever they want, yeah.
When the business drops, they're gonna close and go
Free
home.
to-
Yeah.
That was the discussion that we
If you,
had when we
if you
looked at it.
allow them to 10, and the people are there, coming in, spending money,
Yeah, let them take it, yeah.
let them make their money, because they only get 7 months maybe to make a year's pay.
Yeah. Another question I had is, at the top, is on the front page, a mobile food trailer. Is a tow trailer in excess of 3,000 gross vehicle weight pounds?
Oh, I was the origin of that. It's because when it reaches 3,000 pounds gross vehicle weight, it has to be registered, it has to be inspected.
So what if they had something less than, it still was registered and inspected?
But it's not though, Tom.
So we're
It will
requiring.
still be
Tom,
registered.
the other thought is that, I mean, that I had during that conversation is that gets it to be a sufficiently sized trailer so that somebody doesn't, you know, doesn't go to Tractor Supply, get a $600 trailer, put some wooden sides on it and call it a food trailer.
Yes.
Like the hot dog stand at Home Depot.
Yep.
So, well, what's wrong with that though? That's what I'm thinking.
I'm just-
I bought one of the hot dogs before.
So do those-
Yep.
So it
They
is,
got good sausage.
I'm thinking it's a reasonable entry point for someone who wants to see if their recipes work. You know, just to have something a little smaller.
I was trying to avoid sort of the push cart thing,
Right.
the fly-by-night, you know, somebody grabs a, just a trailer U-Haul has discarded, actually, that probably have to be registered.
Well, but they can have the biggest trailer, it doesn't mean it's gonna look good.
I know, I understand.
And if they have a small thing, if the small thing and it looks like hell, they don't take care of it, they're not gonna sell, they're not gonna stay in business. But if they're bringing in the crowds and it's small, yeah, I'm all for that.
Why is this good for the town of Arundel? Why are trailers good for the town of Arundel, in the town where these guys pay no taxes? They put down no roads?
Maybe,
How
Maybe
does
we should-
how does this help the town of Arundel? How does this help your community grow and create?
good question, but I guess
Let me
not.
finish.
Yeah.
Create the kind of downtown that you guys were envisioning. And how does this help our existing brick and mortar food industry, which pays taxes, which employs people here in town, which stays here year-round, it may not be open year-round. I mean, how does this bolster up our food
Yeah,
industry?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, it may sound odd, I was walking in a Landing store about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I almost asked Dan, the owner, you know, how do you feel about food trucks? Because he's paying taxes all the time, he has permanent employees that he's paying, you know, he's employing people, and this is a really, I mean, I understand where my daughter lives in Los Angeles, real estate is so absurdly expensive that opening a restaurant, even if you're a gourmet chef, is difficult, and food trucks are a very viable alternative to that. But I agree with Tad, I'm not, we originally didn't have the trailers allowed at all.
Yes.
See, now, this leads me, okay, this leads me into the point that I wanted to bring up. I have talked with one of the brick and mortar people. I buy pizza from Arundel House every Sunday afternoon, and I went in there and I ordered a pizza, and I talked to them about the fact that we were looking at doing something from a food truck point of view. They don't want it. They don't think that it's good for, in the DB1, where we have 8 brick and mortar restaurants, to allow a food truck to be within 100 feet of their business and just set up and conduct business. So I think that if, given that it's the brick and mortar restaurants that are in the DB1, that we should say they're allowed in all of the other districts that we have indicated, but not the DB1, unless there's a special event. Because I know Bentley's has food trucks for special events. So if you're gonna have a special event.
So does Vinegar Hill. They want
And Vinegar Hill wants to have something for a special event. So if you're gonna do a special event, I think having a food truck in the DB1 might be appropriate, but I'm not sure it's appropriate to have food trucks in DB1 otherwise, because it's direct competition with the brick and mortar stores who, to Todd's point, actually pay us money. They pay good money from a tax point of view to be here in town. So I'm not sure that.
They're also much more likely to employ people year-round,
Yeah.
or
And they support the Boy Scouts and, you know, and Little League and stuff like that. They're
So-
big community leaders and community
Yeah.
participants.
When I look at this location, I think we should strike DB1 from it and put it, you know, unless there's a special event.
No.
Is there question, is there a fee for permit, what's the permit fee for this?
I don't know, you guys charge it.
$100.
We
You're
can't
coming up with
license
your own
it.
ordinance, right, so.
We can't,
we
the
can't-
permitting would have to be done by you guys.
Right.
I mean, we would go through the permit process, but any kind of licensing would be on your plate. I mean, you have it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put a fee on there, but, you know, it does bring up the fee.
I think you should put a fee on it.
You should put a fee on it, I mean.
And I think it should be more than $100 that you
Yeah,
currently
$100
have in
is
there.
nothing. I mean, what incentive would you have to invest in the town of Arundel if you can make all this money and pay $100 a year,
Right.
and then whatever rent you're doing to, you know, I don't know what he's paying. I forget who is that.
Just in time.
Yeah, just in time, but, you know, it's, I wouldn't, if I were in the food service, I wouldn't, why would I wanna invest in the building in Arundel when I'm gonna have a food trail? And I'm not sure that's the direction we wanna go.
Okay, here's a question.
Maybe we should talk to the guys who have brick and mortars.
Yeah, we should-
No,
we
the
should-
other thing is, how about if you have somebody who has a food trailer or whatever else, right? That lives in Arundel, that is paying taxes in Arundel, tell me he can't have his own food truck in town?
No, we're not saying he can't, I'm not
That's
saying
the
he can't,
gift-
Marty, I'm not saying he can't have one in town. I'm saying I don't think he should have it in the DB1 because of the competition with the other brick and mortar restaurants.
Well, I'll give you a
in
perfect
DB1.
example, what I'm speaking of is,
That's the only
okay,
thing that puts-
Seafood Center,
Yeah.
not Seafood Center, I mean, Lobster Company.
Okay,
You mean, he can't, if they move from Kennybunk, they can't set it up on their own property even?
Well, but that's a different animal, isn't it?
No,
Yeah, it
you
is.
said,
Yeah, it is.
No,
It
it's
is a
not.
different animal.
no, it's
Because
not.
what you're doing is you're doing it on a piece of land that you already have an existing facility on. that you're.
Yeah, but you
that's
said,
really-
what you said, you couldn't be set up at all.
Vinegar Hill's got their own food center too. They wanna have this food truck come in occasionally, and, for certain events and provide an alternative kind of food.
But that
I don't have a
food,
problem with that.
food truck isn't paying taxes though.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. This one is because it's registered in town.
That's not the same.
It's registered as an antique, it's a very small.
No, it's not.
Does a food truck vendor really interfere with a sit-down restaurant?
No.
If I'm driving down the road and I want a real quick bite, I'm gonna stop at a food truck, grab a sandwich, and down the road. If I wanna sit down, I'll drive by 3 food trucks to go sit down.
But it might interfere
But you
with
can
with
sit down.
somebody like, J Brothers, or the Arundel Market, who have quick, you can go in, you can get a bite, take it in your car and head down the road.
You walk in, grab a piece of,
Yeah, you
slice
can,
of
there's
pizza,
a number
you're
of
on the
places that
market.
you can go in and do
Right.
this.
Correct.
For them, yes, it might impact their business.
Yeah.
So we need to have them come in and get some feedback from them as to whether or not it's a good idea. I happen to think that it's a good idea. I don't know. Because I only have one restaurant that has said that they think it's a bad idea. And that's
Okay,
the
let
Arundel
me
House
ask you
Pizza.
this.
Well, there could be more that.
The other guys could feel
Competition.
the same way.
Yeah, but at the same time, right, along the way, you have different variety of foods. Okay, for one.
Mhm.
Second of all, okay, the fact is, one food may taste better than another. So why do you go? It's like you could choose in one restaurant or another.
I'm looking at it from the point of view of the taxpayer who owns the building and is paying taxes in Arundel. I don't think we wanna create such an easy means of competition to them that the guy can pull up across the street, set up a new business, close down and go away. And this other person has all of the fixed costs of the property taxes and all of his other overhead costs that he has to meet. And he can't drive it away and go
But,
someplace
Rich,
else.
Yes, but
Rich,
turn
Rich,
out,
hold on a second. Rich, here's the issue. If it's prohibited in DB1, that's the only place somebody would want to put one of these things.
Well, why would they wanna put it in DB1? They could put it in, they could go down into the BI district, they could go out onto, we've got it in the ARD on Arundel
I'm
Road.
sorry, isn't DB1 Route 1?
It's Route 1 up to Campground, or actually, it's Route 1 up to,
It's Route 1 the whole way.
no, DB1 doesn't go the whole way down,
Oh, no,
DB1 goes to,
Too many names.
No, it's DB1 goes to Fritz's.
goes to Fritz's, okay? So you could go down past Fritz's, you could go down around Tire Warehouse or some other place.
Where does DB1 go on Route 111?
It doesn't.
does it?
DB1 is Route
Why?
1,
Never mind.
because we have AR.
I spent 4 years on it.
Tom Plain spent 4 years.
Well, as far as what do they offer, what do they do, you take the just in time or whatever that food truck is, someone might pull over there. It doesn't look that appealing to me visually,
Right, yeah.
but they might pull in there and think, I think I'll go and check out the antiques. That doesn't look that appealing either, but you know, it brings people in, gets people to stop. Otherwise, they might just fly right down Route 1, heading north or south, you know, so it could, I think it could add more to the culture if there was some of that. I do agree that it's an issue to the existing businesses, that especially pizza that's a fast food type of thing. That's a challenge.
Pizza sandwiches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sandwiches.
most of the brick and mortar restaurants we have are pizza restaurant donut kinds of places that you go into to get stuff out of. And people don't, I don't know, I don't think anybody goes into J Brothers to sit down and have a sandwich. They order up lunch and they go away.
But they go to the cafe next door.
Next door.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I keep forgetting about the
I'll
cafe.
say this, that I live half a mile from Route 1, and I've been to every one of those restaurants a number of times, but when that lobster truck opened up on Ross Road, look good to me, cause I can't get that same quality anyplace else, and it's so. no,
And
it's just-
he also has the lobster roll
But then
too.
the next week, I'm back at J Brothers or one of the other places, you know, I'm freaking them all. I don't know if it'll have that much of an impact overall. Taxes, maybe just raise the fee, make it $1,000 if they wanna do it, I don't know. They'll do it some, in lieu of taxes.
Yeah, but the other thing is also, okay, they're also usually renting
Yeah,
a space.
and that goes to the property owner.
Correct. So, I mean, that's still giving back to the town something. I mean,
No, percent for basis. But, Mr. Chairman, maybe we should do what we did with the equestrians. Maybe we should ask, maybe we should just notify all there's only 8 of them in that area. And notify them and ask them to come in and talk to us.
Mr. Chairman,
Great idea.
They might as well.
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. All right, since we're just discussing this, why has things already been changed on the town website about food vendors?
I have nothing to do with the town website, I couldn't tell you.
What do you mean it's been changed on food vendors?
I have nothing to do with the town website.
I'm just going at where, the fact is, they only eliminate, it only says food trucks. But because last week we turned on, we could have food trailers, but it only says food trucks.
And we haven't passed an ordinance yet.
But it's already been changed on the town website.
What has? What are you talking about?
Do you know what's been changed?
What-
Yeah.
What?
So what?
Where it said food vendors,
On what, the ordinance?
on the town website.
I know the town website's got a lot of stuff on it, Marty, what are you talking about? Are
When
talking
you
about-
come underneath food vendor, okay, under ordinances, okay?
I
And
don't
you'll
think
see,
anybody's changed anything in the food vendor ordinance.
okay,
Well, you guys haven't made any changes to the food vendor ordinance, have you?
go look.
They haven't made
But
any changes
Marty,
to the food vendor
Even
ordinance.
if somebody made a change, this planning board did not do it.
I'm asking a
Well,
question.
how are we supposed to know that answer? We didn't do it. We
There's
don't
a
know
lot
who
of,
did it.
it's like you turn around and try to go find other things, you can't even find them. It's just like a perfect example. We're all crying we don't have another member of the board. And we don't even have it advertised.
Dan, you're gonna comment?
2 comments.
Okay, 2 comments.
Number one, your own, to your point, Marty, your own bylaws state 5 to 7, so you're within,
Okay.
okay? There's no argument there. The other one that I would make is, if you're gonna bring brick and mortar folks, why not, to Tom's point,
Oh, sure.
ask all the other businesses in there, instead of just bringing the brick and mortars, ask the antique places to come to your workshop.
And we could, there would be nothing wrong.
I wouldn't
did-
leave them out, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, no, we wouldn't want it,
Vinegar Hill,
but,
Bentley.
it's a valid point.
Well, I mean, if they're gonna,
They'll be
Bentley,
included
they do it their
anyways.
own, right, that's their own, they bring them on an event. I would look at like the antique places,
Oh, Bentley, well, they do, they have trade winds. Trade winds is right in there, they're gonna be one of the ones who are gonna be asked, and they're not a sit down, they're a takeout.
And they're only seasonal too.
So, but, I'll ask a whole bunch of
Can we do it at the same time we bring
We also need to figure out sometime to start working on the marijuana laws.
Oh, yeah, please,
We
because I
can-
get inundated every day.
We can
by
do,
guys
we can do it
looking
the,
for listings,
we can do
so-
it the easy way. Most of the surrounding communities in Maine have said, not in my backyard, and they've all shot it down. I guess Waterboro was the latest.
Well, what did Kennebunk and Kennebunk work on?
Nothing.
They wanna smoke it, but they don't wanna grow it.
They have a moratorium.
That's great.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
moratorium.
Let
They have a
them smoke,
moratorium
we
on
grow
it.
it, they
Yeah.
smoke it.
Business opportunity.
We're the agricultural community.
Yeah, it is.
We'll let Billy grow it and
He doesn't do it
and
outdoors, you
sell
gotta
it
do it
legally
indoors.
now.
The food trucks will draw over.
Well, yeah, but you see.
We have to, you're right,
And
Rich, we
then,
really
and
do.
then the additional sheriff's deputy will be able to generate revenue.
Yeah.
And then-
But it won't get paid
On the
from
way.
town
The
anyway.
more they smoke, the hungrier they are, the more food trucks
This
we
is
need.
good.
And the more cops we need to stop them when they try to drive away.
Okay, can we
So
make
we'll
a
put
motion?
production in the R4 district and Bill can start.
I'd like to make a motion that we take the food truck performance standards and schedule a workshop with the business community. At the earliest convenience, which could be, who knows?
Motion has been made and seconded to schedule a workshop.
I get a feeling it would be after the summer.
Yeah.
Who gets the official
And
second
it
on
may
that?
That was you. You
Okay,
got the official.
you seconded.
Yep. Roger made the motion,
Okay,
you made the
okay.
second. Any
Yeah.
discussion on it? All those in favor?
We don't have a date?
No,
No.
Tom brought up a good point, this is the busy time, so it'd have to be like in September.
Okay.
Yeah, in the fall.
When we're doing marijuana. Maybe we should do marijuana during the summer.
We should
We
try,
bring
we
in
should
all
try
the-
marijuana during the
Bring
summer.
in all the
Do we need a
marijuana
workshop
specialists
to do
in.
marijuana, or can we make a decision on our own?
I don't think it's gonna be the marijuana
We need-
specialists, it's gonna be the citizens.
We need to
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
from the citizens.
Because they're the ones gonna make the
Is-
decision.
Is it possible that, does the town use Survey Monkey to send stuff out to
We can do
ask
that.
questions about?
Could do that.
Because I think that would be a good thing to have, because we need to
Look
address
at,
the
look at
fact.
the voting. You can look at what was voted, right?
No, you gotta go beyond that, and I'll tell you why, because a lot of people voted because they didn't wanna infringe on your right to be able to do what you wanna do. That doesn't mean they necessarily voted, like in Waterboro, it was like 60% voted for that. But then when it came down to agricultural, growing facilities, testing facilities,
They said
retail and the social clubs, they said no.
Yeah.
And that might be the case here.
Yeah, true.
And that was the impression I got when we had the moratorium.
Right.
Because I asked about it. Most people seem to think, yes, we want to be able to smoke it, but it's iffy on the sales side.
Yeah.
Do we want to allow and that's the issue we have to address. Do we want to allow retail? Do we want to allow smoke shops? What about the labs
Yeah,
that
testing
are available?
labs.
The testing facilities? Do we want to allow that? And to answer that question, whether I agree with the answer I get or I disagree with the answer is irrelevant. I need to know what the citizens say. What do they want to do?
Now, other communities have done referendums on it, and the question might be, we either do a Survey Monkey thing, which we're not sure if we can control who gets in, versus,
Well, no,
Yeah, we
from
can't.
From Survey Monkey you can, because you send it out to all of the people on your list.
Yeah, but they could do it 30 times, just.
Right.
No, they can't.
no, you only.
Survey Monkey shuts you down, you
can
do it
shut
one
down
time.
One time. You could do it that way, or?
Per IP.
Yes.
But not everybody's on computer either.
Exactly.
And
So,
that's the drawback.
there might be a question you guys might wanna take on. Think about it.
I'm not being sarcastic.
And, I know just what you need is another election. But, we are coming, if we do have, Bentley's gonna be asking for a special election, or a special town
Special
meeting.
town meeting,
I think we still wanna do secret ballot,
we do.
so I don't think the town meeting would be the way to do it.
I think a referendum election, if we don't do it in a public hearing and come up with feedback, a referendum issue would be the best way to handle it, because honestly, I think a lot of people are going to vote one way or another based on pressure from who's in the audience that they know.
Yeah.
They're not gonna wanna take a stand one way or the other.
We may not be able to avoid that. The other fear is, we can have a stacked public hearing and then get blown out of the water, in a town meeting. Or or it's just a stacked meeting and the rest of the citizens start complaining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens.
So we do,
It happens.
so we do a referendum, and you say, are you in favor of retail sales? Are you in favor of smoke shops? Are you in favor of these other items? And if the answers turn out to be yes, then we can work on the regulations as to what we have to do.
Because the state doesn't look like, all the reports coming on from the state they're not working to deal with land use issues at all. They're leaving that to the municipalities, and they're just gonna deal with licensing. They're gonna get the money. But we have the ability to get money from licensing too. They're gonna be dealing
Ding,
with
ding,
state
ding,
licensing.
ding, ding.
I think if we're gonna do it, we need a minimum of $10,000 a year
My thoughts exactly. And that may be low.
per store.
No, per plant.
Oh, per plant, it's even better, I like the way you think.
It should be taxed.
That's
high
gonna go over
enough.
well. I don't think Billy's got 1.6 million.
Should be taxed high in alcohol.
He's already moved his stuff.
That's what you.
Yeah, we're gonna
But
get.
that's-
No, he's got his personal.
Okay. The next item on the agenda.
I'm sorry, are we gonna try to schedule that, or what?
Oh, no, we have to,
Yeah.
to sit down and actually put that on the agenda so that we can
Okay.
discuss it
I
moving.
think we better get started on that, because everybody else is too.
Yeah.
And February comes up fast.
Well, again, we have the option, which we didn't put in, we have the
We
option
can
for
do a
moratorium.
moratorium.
Right, and that's the reason why we voted not to allow the opportunity of when we know the rules, we can put a moratorium for you guys to develop what you need. So,
Yep.
that's,
And that will give us some indication as to which way we're gonna end up going. Okay, I think
I would
the,
just assume that we get that done sooner than later, because, we don't wanna work and spin our wheels and then find
Right.
out.
the next
citizens
item
don't
was
want
for
it
the,
or do want it,
the next item is the proposed repeal and replacement of the land use ordinance 5.9 for landscaping and buffering. But
I
I'm
asked
not
them
sure,
to defer
we're
that
not
till-
ready for that yet, are we?
With town meeting, I am able
Okay.
to make those changes you guys asked. I actually worked on food trucks, and I probably should have worked on that
Okay. Is there any other business?
one. I just planners report, a couple of things, just so you know, staff review, committee made an approval of a private way, a two-lot private way, 15-foot paved, though. They paved it. So we have that off of Trout Brook Road. Otherwise, we've seen business in that area slough off a little bit. We haven't had a lot. We're having a tremendous amount of splits coming in and a lot of pressure coming in. We do have an application for Mike Stein to put the boat storage facility out on Route 1 in the BI district in the Dupampo property.
The which one?
Dupampo property, that's where the old Eagles
Yeah.
club was.
Okay.
That property.
Next to the Eagles.
Yeah, next to the new Eagles. And we have,
How many Eagles there?
they have, we have a couple of other projects that are in the making, but, nothing big yet. Another couple, I don't know, everybody wants to store their stuff in Arundel. Because I've got two more guys who are asking to put in storage buildings. So, and Joe has some ideas he wants to discuss regarding, maybe changing phase 6 of the plan. So,
Is he renting those out?
I believe he is, yes, I saw an advertisement for renting them.
Joe.
But are they owned, now the question is, how many have they actually sold, or per se, or is it clients that, people who own them are renting them? That's,
I
That's-
believe they are renting them too. And there's actually nothing wrong with that, if you think about it, because we do consider it to be a lodging facility. It's not a residential facility, I wanna make sure we keep saying that over and over very loud, so the state continues to look at it not as a residential facility, but as a lodging enterprise.
Can I make a suggestion that we charge $5,000 every time they come back in here with Rick's Light?
Is it the same price if they don't come in with Rick?
No, it goes down to 2,500 if they bring somebody else.
We are on camera,
I know.
Did I hear you say $25?
No, I guess, I understand that seasonal cottages are a benefit to the town, but in the short time I've been on this board, they have eaten up a lot of our time.
A lot of our time.
And
That's a-
it seems
that's a
like
big
every.
That's a big project.
It's the biggest project Arundel has ever
Yeah.
seen.
But they keep
And-
coming back with nickel and dime changes.
they really, Phil,
Because your ordinance says they can't do
Exactly.
these nickel and dime changes on their own. They have to come and ask for it.
Would you rather him come back and do that, or find out later on that he did things that the board is all pissed off about
But no,
because?
I-
But the nature of that project is not just these ordinances, it's also, you know, any approval of plans that, right, are going to DEP, have to be recorded in the registry, you know, those whole 9 yards get into having to redo those plans and get our approval.
Right, because, you know, remember with the condominium situation, they moved those squares,
Right.
They gotta change the plan, and they will not accept them up in Alfred without our signature, that's why they keep coming back. So it's not just that they're being unnecessarily repetitive, that's the process with that type of project.
Yeah.
You know, because every time they move something, they have to, it's like a new deed.
And, you know, my
I
point
mean,
is, that's the process, and that's a huge
our-
project, and you
yeah.
gotta expect that in that
And it
type of
is,
project.
but I have to tell you, I find it a little disingenuous to be doing a project of that size, which is like $100 million worth of work, and come in here and cry to me that you're poor.
It's your money.
If you, that I'm poor, you're stopping me from doing something because you won't let me move my road.
No, I don't think it was because they were pleading poverty, I think it
That
was
is
because they
exactly
wanted.
what Joe
No,
was
that's
saying,
not
when he
what I
said,
heard.
if he's not allowed to look like he's
Moving on.
building stuff, he
Mr.
can't
Chairman,
sell.
I
But
think
that's
we don't want
just
to
me.
appear prejudicial in
Yeah.
any future decisions.
The other issue that we have, supposedly, we are going to have an executive session next week. But we can't get the attorney to confirm one way or the other.
I sent an email today, I haven't gotten a response.
I won't be there.
On what to talk.
Birthday, I already sent it out.
Yes,
We-
I
we
received
can't-
that, thank you, Marty.
You
The
invited
board
Dave,
wants
not
to
me?
confer with the
granddaughter.
attorney to, in order to go over what our procedures should be and the processes we go through for the impending, Du Bois application that should be coming in by the end of the month. We want to make sure that we do everything in accordance with the consent decree.
Sorry, what is the date of the executive session?
Well, we were looking at 29th, so that we could do it before the end of before the due date. She may have a conflict. She's trying to
Question,
figure
real
out.
quick,
So we're,
on that. Do we wait until 4 o'clock and then bring it in so it can get stamped on the 29th?
the court requirement was that it has to be submitted before July 1st, and that is based on, when we're open, obviously.
I'm just saying,
It would have to be on the last, I believe, the 30th is the last day of the month.
and if it's not,
That's why
And
we
that's why we want to talk to you.
have a discussion with the attorney. What happens, what do we do?
We're doing that here, or at the?
don't know.
We would probably, I don't know yet. I mean,
Don't make
I asked
that-
for the room, I haven't got a response from RSU yet.
Well, school will be closed then, we don't know if we're gonna be open at night.
That's me.
You. You never answer anything.
Especially if we're over in California.
You've been selected.
That's exactly what this is.
Oh, it's gotten horrible.
Just hit
Oh,
the
they have.
ignore.
Okay.
More and more.
I've been selected for, getting another call, 10:30, almost 10 at night.
All right, any other?
No, I have nothing else.
Yeah, question for you. Anything along Champagne and landscaping?
No,
Or
they
have you
till
heard?
November.
Huh?
They have till November to do that.
Okay,
Some work going on.
They've been doing some filling up.
What about both side estates?
what about anybody else? What about anybody else before they could, down on Old Post Road?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Marty, I can answer part of your question. The berm at Champagne has been built,
Okay,
and it's my understanding they're waiting for the trees to arrive.
okay, thank you. I went by, I didn't see anything. That's a couple of weeks ago or something, that's why I was just asking. I know they said they were gonna try to do it the planting season, but I just was wondering if we've had any,
I think the berm was built about a week ago.
Okay.
maybe a week and a half.
So if they wanna get their plants in, you know,
It's all,
Dan
it's
can
all
water.
built,
Yeah.
it's all done, they're waiting for plans.
Can I write you down on that, Dan?
No,
Get you?
Sure.
no, I'm dealing with that with my work.
Okay. I have a feeling we've got an inside joke.
J Brothers.
What about lots
Yeah.
1 and 10 of, is it Brookside Estates?
Brookside Estates, I sent Jason an email, said, I talked to Bob McCaffrey, who's the landscape architect, saw him in Kennebunk at a meeting I was at over there, and he said he's ready to go, just needs green light from them to finish the design, so I basically emailed Jason just to say, the board wants this finished ASAP, and Bob, I understand Bob's ready to go on it, so please get back to me. So I anticipate I'll get a response from him.
On that thought, can anything be sold if that hasn't been completed?
The limitations that, remember, we're holding a bond on that, number one, and number two, limitations were that they could not get a building permit for lots 1 and 10 until this is resolved. Bless you. That was in your findings of fact in your decision, so.
They have one building up already.
They have 3 buildings.
All right.
Well, they're working on, they have 1 building, actually up and sold, and 2 more buildings on the contract. So, but not on 1 and 10. Any other questions?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
So that has been conveyed to Jason?
Yes, I sent him an email.
I'll second that motion.
We're out of here.
Chip and Roger at.
9:48.
How long is the Route 1 bridge in Kennebec River supposed to last?
18 months.
18 months?
Yeah, we'll go through that joy for 18 months.
That's a lot of fun.
Is it really 18 months?
Yep.
Put a food truck trailer there while you're waiting for.